Welcome to the Face the Music podcast. What is up, everybody? My name is Matt, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we have the Week 14 Top 10s, music news, and my special guest, Long Island metal band Monolith Zero. These guys are one of the best Long Island has to offer, so I'm very excited for you to get to know them. You ready? Let's do it. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Everybody get to enjoy their extended weekend? If you did something cool, drop it down in the comments. Let me see. Tell me all about it. I went to go see the new Tim Robinson movie, Friendship, on Saturday night. It was so damn funny. If you're a fan of I Think You Should Leave, you're going to love this movie. It was basically an hour and a half long show sketch featuring Paul Rudd. It got dark, though. I was surprised. It took kind of a dark turn at one point. And most of the soundtrack was metal music. Caught me completely off guard, but it's dominantly Slipknot for some reason. But yeah, no, it was good. I had a good time. And then Sunday, we went to the beach for the air show. So every year, me and Rosalie usually end up heading down to Jones Beach. We leave at 7 a.m. to beat the traffic. Show usually starts at 10, so we make sure we get good parking and all that shit. And yeah, we got down there nice and early. We got in early, found our spot early, and just hung out. It was a good day on the beach. We met up with some friends who were also down there, obviously. Loud jets. Super loud jets. They had F-35s, F-18s, the Thunderbirds were there. Those are F-16s. It was cool. Kept the adrenaline going all day. And then I also tried to clean my grill this weekend because I want to get that season started, and I'm in need of a new grill. I deep cleaned the shit out of the thing. I got in there with a scraper, sprayed it down with some soap, and tried to really get underneath all the garbage from last year. And I cleaned all the pipes out, all the hosing, and the fucking thing won't temp over 300 degrees, so it's time. It served its purpose. Had it for a few years, so unfortunately, it's time to put that one out to pasture. But, yeah, overall, pretty solid weekend. It closed out. We went to my brother-in-law's house, celebrated his birthday, so happy birthday, Chuck. Good weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself as much as I did. And once more, I hope you had time to check out last week's episode. Tom Gallagher. I had so much fun talking to you, dude. It was a great time. It was great to have that conversation about where the scene's at. Basically getting a pulse check on how things are going from a promoter's point of view, as opposed to somebody who is now watching from the outside looking in, at least for now. If you listen to the show, you know I'm probably going to be looking to put a band together again for the first time since COVID. So, yeah, the goal will be to play MGR Fest 2026, which would be nice. I've followed this festival since day one. I've been helping promote this festival since day one, and I'm seeing so many bands that are just working so hard to get to that point. I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I want that for next year too. But yeah, regardless of anything, it was a great time talking to Tom. I hope you guys had a great time listening. I hope you learned a little something about how the music scene operates. Not just this scene. That's how pretty much every scene operates. But there's people you can trust, and there's people that you should probably be skeptical of. And everything that Moon Groove stands for, those are the people that you could trust. So if you're young listening to this and you're booking your first shows, or maybe you're new to how a music scene operates, um, read the signs, talk to people in the scene, but also get your leg up with someone who's going to help you rather than hurt you. A lot of people only care about the money. A lot of people only care about booking, you know, who's going to make them the most instead of giving you the chance you deserve. Go hit up Moon Groove, please. That's all I'll say. You can trust these guys. They're all great people. And yeah, I trust them wholeheartedly. I encourage you to reach out. But yeah, I'll be having Tom on again in a few weeks. When we get closer to MGR Fest, I'm going to have him and some of the guys on, or at least that's the goal. I would like to have him and some of the guys on to do like a special go home episode, to really help promote the show one more time before we got to actually go to the show. So, guys, today's going to be a fun one. We have a lot of new music in the top 10. There's been so many bands dropping so much cool shit the past few weeks, and I'm trying to stay on top of it as best as I can. But yeah, I have some cool shit to show you. On top of the top 10, we have some stuff in music news, and it is just an unbelievable pleasure for me to have Monolith Zero on the show this week. I love these guys. I have known them for a very long time. I've known them since their start. They're all great people, and I can't wait to introduce them to you, and you can get to know them a little bit better as well. For my first timers, welcome to the Face the Music family. I am glad that you found your way here. When you're listening, it's our time to just hang out together. So please, forget about all the insanity going on in your life. Forget about all the negativity, all the bullshit. You never hear me talk politics on the show. You never hear me pick up any of the buzzword rage bait that we take to the face every day. Let's just turn it all off and relax. Let's shoot the shit and talk about music. For all of my returning listeners, welcome back, fam. Thank you for listening week after week after week. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of the Face Music Podcast. So, let's kick back and relax, guys. It's Friday. Whether you work weekends or not, get in that Friday state of mind. Crack open a cold one. Tune out the world for a little bit and enjoy. After this episode, go outside. The weather's been kind of nice lately. At least here on Long Island, the rain's been drying up a little. I think we're supposed to get more towards the weekend, but fuck it. It's not raining right now. That's what matters. Yeah, go outside. Crank out the Face Music Top 10s playlist featuring all of the bands you hear on the show. You deserve it. Relax. Now, whether this is your very first episode or your 14th, I do ask that you kindly help me grow this thing. Follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, like and share my posts, vote when there's something to vote on, which, by the way, thank you to everybody who voted this past week. I put something up on Instagram, which is the only place you'll ever see me do a poll. Whether you'd like to see me produce some merch, whether you'd help, buy some. And everybody surprisingly said yes. So thank you so much, A, for voting, and B, for supporting the show like that. That's awesome. I love you guys. Keep your eyes out. I'm going to be doing some cool top 10 related voting stuff in the coming weeks. But yeah, thank you for voting and pay attention to that kind of stuff. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, Instagram, Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. It's one step closer to me achieving another goal, which really I appreciate. I need your help getting there. It costs nothing. It costs nothing. It takes no effort. It does nothing to hurt you. I don't clog your algorithm. I post once a week, guys. So if you wouldn't mind, like, share, subscribe on YouTube, share my shit. If you listen to the show, share it. If you don't listen to the show, share it, because someone you know might appreciate it. Aside from talking about metal music, I also talk a lot about mental health. I talk about the music industry. I try to keep everybody up to date with what's going on in music news. You guys know the drill. If you're watching this, I'm sure you've seen it before, and if you haven't, that's kind of what I'm all about. It's music saves lives. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for music. I love music. I love metal music, and I really try to cater this page to other people who are of the same mindset. So it's really all about growth at this point. You guys know what I'm here to do. But yeah, these are the cheapest, the easiest ways to help me grow. So let's spread the word together. Every bit helps. Thank you for all of your support. I don't take any bit of that for granted, and I will never take any of that for granted. The fact that you are willing to tune into an episode and spend some time with me means worlds to me. I started this podcast 14 weeks ago. It's new-ish. But it is a product of a major life change, losing my job. Now, I have talked about this a little bit on the show here and there. Yes, it is still very upsetting all these months later. It was a very traumatic thing for me, truthfully. It wasn't just a job. It was something I gave my heart and soul to for a very long time, and it set back a lot of the positive changes that were in motion for my wife and I this year. To keep it 100% honest with you, I was extremely depressed, my anxiety was through the roof, and I had no idea how to make the next move. I found a lot of solace in starting this podcast. It helped me talk it out, to let go of what was keeping me down in life, and it allowed me to grow and discover a bit more about myself. Very much like seeking therapy. A therapist will listen to you, they will ask questions, and they'll help you see things from a new perspective. They can give you advice and techniques to help make positive changes in your life. BetterHelp is the sponsor of this video, and they're on a mission to start making therapy easier. Fill out a questionnaire and you'll match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. Easily switch therapists at any time at no extra cost if it's not the right fit for you. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform that you can trust. Click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/facethemusic and get 10% off your first month of therapy. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. I appreciate what you do for so many people. Being as May is Mental Health Awareness Month, it is very important. This month as well as every month, by the way. I'm an advocate for taking care of your mental health 12 months a year, 365 days a year. It's so important, guys. It really is. Find an outlet. If you don't have an outlet, talk to somebody. If you can't talk to somebody, please go higher. Go talk to a therapist. There's no shame in it. There should never be shame in it. It's not a stigma. You need to take care of you. Always remember, you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help somebody else. This week's top 10, guys. We will hear new music from I Prevail, Electric Callboy, Fox Lake, Malevolence, Breakdown of Sanity, We Came as Romans, Cataclysm. We also hear from New York, Pennsylvania's Dark After Dawn, Revel 9, and one of my favorite songs from today's very special guests, Monolith Zero. As always, you will hear all of the clips from the top 10 on Spotify episodes, but unfortunately, YouTube snitches if you want to upload music. So if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, but the clips will not be featured. Not to worry though, YouTube, you can still go listen to the full songs over on the Face the Music Top 10s playlist over on Spotify. The code, as always, will be at the end of the top 10, and you can also find the link that's on my socials. Top 10 of week 14. Here we go. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Revel 9. Revel 9 is a hard rock band out of Long Island, New York. Revel's been around for a while now. I used to play shows with them back when I was still in Logan's Room, and that was about 10 years ago, and they've got a deeper history than that. Their first EP came out all the way back in 2011. The band always reminded me a lot of like Chevelle or Seether. Heavy hard rock, lots of melody. The band recently released a single back on April 18th of this year called End Us All. The song is riffy, it's heavy, it has a huge anthemic chorus. It does sound like a mix of Chevelle and Stone Sour. This song is also your number 10 song of week 14. This is Revel 9 and Us All. At number 9, we have Denver, Colorado new metalcore band Fox Lake. Fox Lake formed back in 2017. The band wanted to combine elements of hardcore, hip hop, and rock. The band's first release came out in 2020, the album Silence and Violence, and was immediately followed up by the release of the EP Lady Luck in 2021. And the following EP, Fear and Loathing, will come out 2 years later in 2023. In 2025, the band is gearing up for another release entitled New World Heat, due out August 1st of 2025. Fox Lake has released 3 tracks out of the 12 for the album so far. Savior, Cold Hard Truth, and most recently Pure Adrenaline, which is a relentless banger that sounds like it came straight from the early 2000s metalcore scene. This track could easily fit in an extreme sports video game. It is a fucking rager. It's also your number 9 song of week 14. This is Fox Lake, Pure Adrenaline. Number 8, out of Bern, Switzerland, we have metalcore slash new metal band Breakdown of Sanity. The band started up in 2007, and their first release, The Last Sunset, came out in 2009. Since then, the band has released 3 full-lengths and 7 singles. The most recent single dropped May 2nd of 2025, and the band stated that they have no plans on releasing new full-length at this time, but they will be frequently releasing new singles, so the bands will always have new music in some form. This new single is called The Hunt, and it's the first release with the band's new singer, Kiwi Brundle. At number 8 this week, this is Breakdown of Sanity with their brutal new single, The Hunt. Number 7, we have the legendary Canadian death metal band Cataclysm. Cataclysm has released 15 studio albums and 2 EPs. They were formed in Montreal, Quebec in 1991. In 1992, they signed with Nuclear Blast. And with the exception of a 2-album stint with Hypnotic Records, which they ended up re-recording and re-releasing those albums independently, they've been with Nuclear Blast their entire career. The band's last full-length release was Goliath back in August of 2023, before releasing The Rabbit Hole on May 22nd of this year. This single does act as a standalone, as there's been no mention of a follow-up album to Goliath yet, but if the single is any indication, the next album is going to be brutal. Your number 7 song of the week, this is Cataclysm with The Rabbit Hole. Number 6, we have New York, Pennsylvania melodic death metal band Dark After Dawn, or as I call them, Dad. I have known these guys a very, very long time now, and they're so unbelievably talented. They've had multiple lineup changes through the years, but their sound has never really changed. It's always been so consistent, it's tight, it's locked in. Vocalist and guitarist Maruf is the epitome of determination and never give up, and I respect the shit out of that. The band has one full-length release, which is self-titled and came out back in 2022, and the band is currently working on the follow-up to this album. Their songs are heavy, they're fast, Maruf's vocals are ruthless and filled with passion and emotion. There is an enormous Sepultura Cavalera influence on this band. Go follow them on social media and get ready for the next chapter. I fully plan on having them on the show soon too. At number 6 this week, this is Dark After Dawn with the first song I ever heard from them that made me fall in love with their music. This is Abandonment. Number 5, out of Troy, Michigan, metalcore band We Came as Romans. The band was founded in 2005, originally called This Emergency before changing their name to We Came as Romans in 2006. Two of the band's original 4 members would leave the band by 2006 and remained a bit of a revolving door their first few years as a band, but the 2 originals, Joshua Moore and Dave Stevens, would stay with the band to this day. We Came as Romans has released 6 albums and 2 EPs, with rumors of another full-length on the horizon. Nothing has been released yet by the band, but they have released 2 new singles and a headlining tour with support from After the Burial, Currents, and Long Island's own Johnny Booth called the Bad Luck World Tour. I am not superstitious, but I would have called that tour something else. Anything else, really. It's just like, it's saying Macbeth in a theater. You know you're probably gonna be fine, but why risk it? Well, Bad Luck is also the name of the band's first new single since 2022, and followed up shortly after with No Rest for the Dreamer, which also happens to be your number 5 song of week 14. This is We Came as Romans, No Rest for the Dreamer. Taking the number 4 spot this week, we have one of my favorite independent Long Island artists, and this week's special guest, Monolith Zero. At their heart, Monolith is a metal band. However, they won't limit themselves to that one specific label. They derive sounds from all over the musical spectrum. You have their heavy songs like Evolve, Onwards, Element, and then you have songs like Holistic that sounds like a mix of Load era Metallica mixed with Van Halen. These guys are phenomenal musicians in their own right, but it must be said that vocalist and guitarist Nick is their main songwriter, and I'm going to throw the word genius into the mix. This dude has such a beautiful fucking vision of how he wants his music to become, and the end result is always incredible. You're going to learn a lot more about them in just a little while, but I will say this is one of the most dynamic and truly gifted bands out there. Not just on Long Island, anywhere. I'm so fucking proud of these guys. Knowing them from their start to where they are today gets me borderline emotional. I couldn't be happier to see that they're still a band, still doing their thing and growing. These guys are going to take over the world. Monolith Zero is a band that you want to follow now. Come watch the come up with me, because it is not if, it's definitely when. Your number 4 song for week 14, this is Monolith Zero off of their 2022 self-titled album, This is Surrender. Top 3 songs of week 14. At number 3, we have UK metalcore band Malevolence. Malevolence has been making a ton of noise the last few years. The band started in 2010 in Sheffield, South Yorkshire, England. Within a few short years, the band had signed to Siege of Amida Records and released their debut album, Reign of Suffering, in November of 2013. The band describes themselves as having a melodeath, almost at the gates vibe, combining metalcore beatdown, groove, and sludge metal. Their influences include Terror, Madball, Down and Pantera, Crowbar, and Despised Icon. Since their 2013 debut album, the band has released 2 others, with one more coming out June 20th of this year, entitled Where Only the Truth is Spoken. Malevolence has also been selected by Jamie Josta to take on the 2025 iteration of the Summer Slaughter Tour. Summer Slaughter had an abysmal 2024 run with tons of pushback from fans looking at weak lineup booking, and just overall, it's not the usual vibe the tour carries. This year, Jamie Josta announced that he's going to be taking over the reins on the tour. He selected the bands, and he wanted to bring the festival back on course, while bringing out well-known artists as well as up-and-coming lesser-known artists. Hatebreed, of course, headlines this tour as expected, with a monster support lineup including Bleeding Through, Fugitive, Incite, Gridiron, Escuela Grind, Snuffed on Sight, and of course, Malevolence. This is going to take Malevolence to the next level that they have been more than deserving of for a long time. Go check out Summer Slaughter this July, but before you do, check out your number 3 song of week 14. This is Malevolence with their newest single, If It's All the Same to You. Number 2, the Germans are back and they are pissed. Electric Callboy are in the studio working on their newest album set to be released before the end of this year. We do not have a title yet, but the band did mention recently that they're putting the finishing touches on it and the album will be just about ready for release after their summer festival season. The band also recently announced that Frank Zumo, formerly of Sum 41, will be their new drummer for the foreseeable future, joining them for their 2025 dates, while an official announcement of him becoming a full-time member of the band has not yet been made. For those that do not know, Electric Callboy is one of the hottest bands in the world the last few years after releasing Techno in 2022, which had hits like Pump It, We Got the Moves, Arrow of Love, Hurricane, and the collab track with Conquer Divide entitled Fuckboy. The band did videos for most of this album, all of those songs and a couple more. Every time, the videos are filled with humor and fun party vibes. Earlier this year, the band released Elevator Operator, which was a true-to-form Callboy track. It was a fun rave-based party song. Once in a while, though, the band does release a more serious-sounding song, and that's what landed them our number 2 spot this week. The band dropped Reverie last week, a melodic yet furious and haunting-sounding track, bringing an out-of-character darkness to the band's usual bright colors and happy vibe. The song released with a video. It's an extremely cool concept video. It reminded me a lot of Stranger Things, but I highly recommend checking that out. Your number 2 song of week 14, this is the new one from Electric Callboy, Reverie. And finally, your number one song of week 14. Recently, it was announced that I Prevail will be parting ways with their clean vocalist Brian Burkheiser. This came as a controversial move to fans of the band, really more so fans of Brian's, truthfully, as fans all over the internet turned on the band pretty quickly over the decision, which so far has only been explained from one side, from the band. Brian has not released an official statement of his own, leaving fans to speculate. It should be noted that the band did note the decision to split was mutual, so both parties agreed to this. So Brian had to have left on his own accord as well. I don't see there being any sort of bitterness or maliciousness between the band and Brian. Brian has missed a few shows over the last 2 years, either due to surgeries or having a baby, getting married, whatever the case may be. Every time in his absence, though, guitarist Dylan Bowman has been on clean vocal duty singing backup and playing guitar for the band, and this will effectively be the case moving forward. Dylan will handle all of Brian's clean parts as well as playing guitar for the band, and Eric Vandenberg will be the primary frontman of the band going into this new era of I Prevail. Hopefully they stop receiving the unfair amount of hate that they've been receiving, and I'm going to keep it 100% with you guys. I couldn't be more excited for this change. Brian was always an integral part of the band's old sound. Their first few albums made sense with the balance of the clean and the aggressive vocals, but as the band continued to write and grow, they kind of seemed to be phasing out of that era, that squeaky clean, like, pop metal, I'll call it what it is, the pop metal vibe. Brian's parts sometimes, like, they always seem kind of forced, and it also kind of just destroy the vibe of the song. You have this really, really heavy shit, and then you take on this very uplifting pop side. It didn't work all the time. So as the band's gearing themselves up for a more metalcore or even sometimes deathcore sound, I think that the removal of that need to carry the pop vibe is going to help the band grow to where they need to be. The band, they just released a brand new single for the song Violent Nature. This is the first song they've released without Brian, marking the official beginning to the new era of the band, with promise of new music coming along the way. No mention of a new album yet, but the band will be out on the Summer of Loud tour with Parkway Drive, Killswitch, and Beartooth this summer. So I hope you go check that out. I know it's coming to Jones Beach. I fully plan on being there. But your number one song for week 14, this is the new era of I Prevail, Violent Nature. You can check out the full songs on the Face of Music Top 10s playlist over on Spotify by either searching or scanning the code on your screen now. Are you interested in being a guest on the show? Well, hit me up. I'm always looking for bands, musicians, friends, other podcast hosts, promoters, or people who just live for rock and metal that want to come on and talk a bunch of shit. Let's set it up. Don't be shy. It's always a good time. I will say, though, as of today, I am booked up for about 6 to 8 weeks, so if you've got something important that you want to come and talk about, don't wait, and I will do my absolute best to get you on as soon as possible, even if I have to move some stuff around. My friends in bands, do you have a show coming up? A new single, an album, or an EP dropping? Anything at all that you want to promote? Please let me know. I want to do my part in making sure that your music gets heard and your band gets seen. Ultimately, I want to try to get some more heads through the door for you as well. But if you don't tell me, I'm going to have a pretty hard time finding out about it. Word of mouth does a lot, but it doesn't do everything. So if you have something important that you gotta get on, tell me. If I can't get you physically on the show, I'm gonna shout out whatever you need me to shout out. But reach out, please. So whatever's easier for you, you can always email me at theftmpod@gmail.com or just shoot me a message on Instagram. I've had a couple bands already shout out this week to me on Instagram. Thank you so much for reaching out. I am going to check out everything you guys sent me, and I'm going to find a way to get on the show for you. Show announcements, guys. June 14th. This is about 2 weeks away. We have Whiskey Rocks in West Babylon, New York. Not a whole lot of detail coming out, but I do want to make sure that at least it's out there in the ether for you guys to be aware of. Resist the Temptation. Share the stage with Steve and the Not Steves. I fully plan on trying to be at this show. I have yet to see Resist the Temptation. They are a phenomenal band. They are incredible people. So I really do want to try to make it down there. I'm just waiting on more details to come through, and as soon as I find out, you find out. But again, the fastest and easiest way to find out, go follow the band directly, and as soon as they put it up, you'll know about it. But nonetheless, I will have it as soon as possible. So, yeah, keep your eyes and ears open. June 21st, Uber Geek Brewing in Riverhead, New York. We have Pathmaker, The Astral Cadence, Golden Hymns Sing Hurrah, featuring Tom Gallagher of Moongroove Records. That's his other project, aside from Soul Searcher. And, I mean, he's got a million things going on, but those are his two big ones. Ringside Tonic and Violet Chaos, will also be at that show. Tickets are $15, doors are at 6 p.m., and this is strictly an 18 and over event. June 26th, Path We Choose, a Prelude to Misery EP release show. This will take place at Amityville Music Hall in Amityville, New York, featuring Hostile Intent, Summon the Plague, Dead Within Days, shout out Dead Within Days, Senseless, and the boys themselves in Path We Choose. Tickets are $12 if you buy from the bands, but it's $15 if you buy at the door. So you know the drill. Save some hard-earned cash and buy from the bands. Not only does this save you money, but if you aren't already aware, the pre-sale helps the bands tremendously. Dead Within Days and Path We Choose are also both on MGR Fest 2025, so consider this to be your warm-up. July 26th, Moongroove Records hosts MGR Fest 2025. This event will take place at Uber Geek Brewing in Riverhead, New York. The whole thing kicks off at noon and goes late into the night. This event will feature local artists and touring acts. There's going to be plenty of vendors, activities, games, food trucks, and much more. $25 if you buy ahead of time, $30 at the door, so make sure you save yourself some cash and buy early. Your vendors for MGR Fest 2025 are Riff Haven Audio Recording Studio, Floating Forest Pedals, Safe Haven Music, Moncherie Sugary, Burnworks Unlimited, Gallagher Baked Goods, Katie Crafts, the Maui Chop House Food Truck, the El Amor del Caribe Caribbean Love Food Truck, and yours truly, the Face the Music Podcast. I'll have a table and tent set up with some cool stuff for sale, including a one-time only limited supply MGR Fest hot sauce. I'll have shirts. I'll have some other cool stuff going on too. Going to be doing a raffle or two. I'm going to have a mobile setup for full coverage of the festival, so come on by and say what's up. Maybe cut a promo for the show, but make sure you get there bright and early. A music festival would be nothing without your bands performing. So, your bands for MGR Fest 2025 are Farsight, Ringside Tonic, Pathmaker, Cheem from New England, Path We Choose, Soul Searcher, Resist the Temptation, With Sales Ahead from New Jersey, Hope Speak, Dead Within Days, Pulses from Virginia, Off Guard, Oceanside, I Dreamt the Sea, and Craving Strange. Also featuring special acoustic sets by Bojack from the band Ronin, Chris Umland, and Ghost City Limits, which is my good friend and former guest of the show, Rob Moonfesta. Go give all of your vendors a like and the bands a listen. Make sure you buy your tickets early. $25 online or 30 day of show. Bring some extra cash for merch, food, raffles, and also save some time at the door. Since this event starts at noon, you want to make sure that you're there and inside early for when that first note kicks off. Alright guys, let's talk about some news from around the metal world. After 3 years, the drought is over. Amorphous has officially announced their new album Borderland with a release date of September 26th of this year. You can pre-save the album right now. The Finnish band will also be on tour in Europe with Arch Enemy and Gatecreeper this fall. Hopefully they're coming stateside next year. New band Frozen Ground dropped their first single, No Values Only Judgment, that came out on May 23rd. Frozen Ground, if you're unaware, is a collaborative group that sees members of It Dies Today and Census Fail come together. From It Dies Today, we have Nick Brooks on vocals, Mike Hodelag on guitar, and John Runkle on drums. And from Census Fail, I apologize if I botched this name, we have Greg Steliads. The group has 3 dates lined up, one next week in Buffalo on June 1st, so actually that's this Sunday, at Amvet's Post. The next is July 5th in Rutherford, New Jersey at Hellfire Fest. And the last, for now, is at St. Catharines in Ontario, Canada on July 12th. Keep an eye out for more from this group and check out the new song. Metallica is taking the 72 Seasons tour over to Europe in 2026 with some new openers on their No Repeats weekend. Now, normally, being as this pertains to Europe exclusively, it wouldn't matter so much to over here in the States, but I can't ignore how happy I am for the bands that will be taking the trek with Metallica. We have what seems to be the mainstay openers in Pantera, who've done all legs of the 72 Seasons tour since it began over 2 years ago. But replacing the most recent openers in Ice Nine Kills, Limp Bizkit, and Suicidal Tendencies, we now see Gojira and Knocked Loose on night 1, and Pantera and Swedish metal band Avatar on night 2. Gojira have previously toured with Metallica all the way back in 2009 on the World Magnetic Tour, and have since become one of the biggest names in metal. And let's not forget their Olympic Games opening ceremony performance, which was one of the 2 coolest moments for metal in 2024. Ironically, the other being Knocked Loose on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Knocked Loose opening these shows is going to be absolute mayhem and bring a totally new fan base into Metallica shows. This is such a cool moment for the boys in Knocked Loose, who've been having the biggest few years of their career, going from co-headlining with Motionless in White and quite honestly upstaging them to direct support for Slipknot last year and being the first pig squeal on national television on Kimmel. And now the band would be kicking down yet another door touring with Metallica. Now, on the other side, on the opposing night, everybody knows Pantera. Nothing can be said about them that hasn't already been said. If you don't know Pantera, where the fuck have you been? I do want to make special mention, though, of the band Avatar. Avatar have been one of the most steadily rising bands for a long time now, and their come-up has been fascinating to watch. I'm a fan, if you didn't already know, and I've been following them very closely for the last, I would say, 10 or so years. They're out of the metal capital of the world, Gothenburg, Sweden, and they combine melodic death metal with groove metal, prog, rock and roll. They're one of the most proficient live bands out there. This band has worked their asses off on the festival circuits around the world until eventually being able to tour independently and support for national acts. Avatar today just released a new song and video for their first single. Well, I should say, the day I'm recording this, it came out previously. So when you see this, it'll be backed. But whatever. They released a brand new song and video for their upcoming yet-to-be untitled album. The song is entitled Captain Goat. It will definitely be an addition to next week's Top 10. Avatar also today just announced a North American tour with support from Alien Weaponry, which will be stopping by the New York area November 25th of this year. I already have my tickets. Get your fucking tickets and come hang out with me. I'm so proud of this band, and it's amazing to see the come up over the last 10 years, from the band playing at 11 a.m. to a couple of hundred people, to selling out tours, to headlining a festival or two, and now touring with the biggest names in the genre. Big shout out to Avatar. Monolith Zero is a band that's been featured on the show before with their song Neurotoxin off the album As the Universe Dies that came out November of 2024. You just heard them again in our top 10 this week with their song Surrender. I reached out to Nick maybe a month or two ago about coming on the show, and before long, we had a date planned out, ready to go. Nick and Dan are the two longest tenured members of the band, Nick being the original, the guy that started the whole thing, and Dan joined very shortly after. They're now joined by Andre on guitar and Ethan on bass, and Dan will be moving from his role on drums to help assist on guitar duties as well. Their new drummer is yet to be announced, but follow their socials for big announcements, including who the new drummer will be, upcoming shows, new music, and much more. On this episode, we talk influences, we talk former bands coming together from many different places and becoming a cohesive unit, and the role music has played in their lives. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, my good friends, Monolith Zero.
All right, guys, I'm sitting here with Monolith Zero. How you guys doing? Been a while since I've seen you.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, anytime. Why don't you guys go around and introduce yourselves?
Let's start with Ethan.
Really?
All right.
He's over there.
My name is Ethan. I play bass. What else?
Yay! Why don't you get a fun fact, an icebreaker?
I live in Jersey.
Just being a dick.
We'll go nice and basic. I live in Jersey.
Nice.
That's why he's calling in.
Yep.
I'll go next. I'm Dan. Hi. I'm currently the drummer of this band. Pretty soon I'm going to be one of the guitarists. A fun fact about me: I'm blessed to not live in Jersey. I live a happy life on Long Island.
Well, somebody said it.
I'll go next. My name's Nick. I am the frontman for Monolith Zero. I play guitar and I sing. And fun fact about me is my bet did not cash on Nick's Pacers the other night. And Dan has been giving me shit for the past 10 minutes. So
$80 on $10. Very nice dinner. Thank you, Jalen Brunson.
My name is Andre. I play guitar B in the band, and fun fact about me is I'm really stoked to be here.
Oh, we really leaned into that fun fact thing. I was just fucking around.
Listen, I'm sure I could come up with more incredible facts about each of us. A little warning. Yeah.
So, Monolith Zero, I have known you guys for a long time now. Musical evolution is just something that you've done through your career in music. You recently, was the last year you put out that EP, right? Or was that a full length?
full length.
Full length
In November.
And now knowing you're already writing the next one. You're already like, your brain never stops.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm writing the next one yet. I write often. I don't know what I'm writing next. I'm just writing whatever is coming out. So it's been some cool stuff. It's like there's like stuff that I think is very earthy sounding. There's stuff that sounds very like classic metal. I was dabbling doing like some hardcore thing like recently, and like, but you know, just whatever comes out. And it's important, I think, just to write to that, because I never know where I'm gonna go. And as long as I'm just getting it out on paper, the world's my oyster. So
one of the blessings of being independent is, instead of being beholden to a format or to a schedule or to a company, you're beholden to your fans and to yourself. And I think that, you know, at this point, everything that Nick sends is its own piece. And I don't feel like there's a rush that you're in to develop. You know, you're not trying to fill a mold, you're trying to create art on its own. And I think that's been a really interesting thing to watch, because I mean, Nick's our only real songwriter, and I think that has been it's been fun. It's been fun to hear. No two pieces, you know, sound too connected or too disjointed.
Yeah, he said it well. I couldn't possibly say it any better.
Kind of shocked me where you pulled all that from, Mr. President, out of nowhere.
It's all
has lines written down.
Yeah, really. They're used to a non-PR Dan that doesn't use full sentences. This is what happens when you stop having to worry about the drums.
Wow.
Your brain cells come back.
Your brain resets.
And yeah, I've been learning.
Factory
Yeah,
default reset.
I've been learning all these songs on guitar, and it's crazy. I can like smell new smells. Like my throat is clear. Like yeah,
I think that's all just open C, dude.
Really, gotta think of 3 notes at once, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And you used the word beholden. I was like, oh shit, that's
Yeah.
like a great word. Drummer word.
Top tier word.
Yeah, well, that's why our drums aren't good right now. That's why we need a new drummer. 3-year-long substitute.
So, I'm very familiar with you guys. I am not as familiar with Ethan and Andre. I would still like to get it just for everyone who's listening who is not familiar with you guys at all. What are your influences in music? Like, what makes you want to write? Who inspires you to play your instrument? Really, what's the thing that made you say, I want to do this?
Let's start with them two.
Okay.
Mine's pretty predictable.
Same, yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of the black sheep of the band, whereas my interests and influences don't align so much with them. Very
Well,
much
that's not
dad
true.
rock.
You wouldn't be here if that was the case.
No, because the thing we have in common is we all love Monolith Zero.
Mhm.
That's kind of undisputable. But as far as other musical influences, like we probably wouldn't see each other at the same show. I'm very much into the whole dad rock, thrash, shred, Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert. I didn't know what open C tuning was before I met Monolith Zero. I don't think the bottom string of my guitar has ever been tuned to anything other than E. Really, up until this. So, it's a new experience. It's a whole new world and a brand new attitude. But you still got to catch them all. Be the best that you can be.
So, what musicians in particular, or what bands were like? What started you out on your instrument?
Oh, I mean, when I first got into it, it was like a buddy in middle school said, hey, you should put this on while you grind in Maple Story. And it happened to be like Linkin Park and Marilyn Manson and Korn. Mm-hmm. But then in high school, I sat down next to like a musical elitist who was like really good at guitar. And like, I kind of idolized him. And the competitive spirit made me want to play as good as him. And he's like, you got to check out Megadeth. And I started getting into Megadeth. And then from there, it was just a natural progression of like Testament, Exodus. Again, just Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert, Racer X. The faster the better. Even before I liked rock and roll hip hop, I always liked the faster stuff, like B.O.B. by Outkast, one of my favorite songs.
Mm-hmm. That's cool, man. Ethan, what about you?
My tastes are kind of all over the place. Right now, as of lately, I've been really into like jazz fusion and especially Men I Trust. For anybody who doesn't know them, they're completely opposite of Monolith. They're really, really chill. Yeah. But overall, some of my favorite bands are definitely like Turnstile, Knock Loose, as of lately, of course. I got into music and wanting to like just kind of do better, ironically enough, through like Blink-182 and Green Day. They really, really taught me just rhythm. And actually, I started playing music, like instruments, because of Guitar Hero. Nobody in my family are musicians. I'm really the only one. That's what the only one means. But I remember playing Guitar Hero 3 for my birthday, and I went from easy to expert within like less than a month. And I was like, oh, I want to do the real thing. And my dad was like, okay, let's take some lessons. So I said no. I just continued playing Guitar Hero up until high school, and it was back and forth. Take lessons. I'll buy you an instrument if you just take lessons. And I was like, no, I want to be self-taught. Some of the greats were what I thought at the time were self-taught. So we made a compromise. I took a couple of lessons, and I got myself. But every time I play guitar, they're just was something missing. It didn't matter how low I got, how heavy the distortion was, or the overdrive. And the first time I picked up a bass and played for myself, I was like, this is what I've been missing this entire time.
The low.
Yeah, exactly. I like feeling it. But yeah, as of lately, again, it's just been knock loose, turnstiles, new stuff. Men I Trust has really been pushing their work ethic. They just released a live thing, plus 2 albums within the past 2 years. So their work ethic is like, wow. And everything sounds different. Like all of their songs just sound completely different. And yeah, that's mostly my influences.
Cool. Dan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything comes back to these two bizarre kind of musical entities, because I started playing drums when I was very young. When I was like 2 or 3, I think I was 2, there's this thing on PBS called Animusic. What it was a very early, like, CG animated kind of.
Is that the thing with like the little ping pong balls?
Yeah. So the idea is it was
that.
animated robots that played themselves, and I thought that was the sickest stuff ever. And I watched it every time it would come on, and my mom kind of took notice, and then it was from there that she noticed that I was taking her pots and pans and arranging them in the same shapes as the drum kits from that. And then also Rush was, through one coincidence or another, introduced to me. My dad wasn't really a fan. He knew of them, but a friend of his had burned him a copy of Neil Peart's Anatomy of a Drum Solo DVD.
That's
which is
great
him.
DVD.
So I learned how to use the DVD player in order to watch it, and it got me. And so when I was 4 years old, they bought me a drum kit. 2 years later, my dad both brought me to a Rush concert, which was a crazy thing to do to a 6-year-old. That was my first contact high. Guy just ripping like 3 joints in a row, 2 seats down. And then they got me a drum teacher, and I worked with her for like 10 years, mostly focusing on jazz and Latin to build up the proper technique. And then from there, I mean, I kind of added the more multi-hyphenate, elements of, guitar and bass and all of that. As time went on, I eventually went to college for music. And so through it all, the original influences kind of always stayed. Rush has, always kind of been the number one for me. I think if you're going to add any other current bands on there, Paramore has really influenced my, the more modern Paramore has influenced my taste a lot. And then
explains the mustache.
Yeah. Oh man, he's got a great one. And then I'm trying to think of like who else like really modern. I guess the stuff that has expanded my horizons in the rock realm is mostly what Nick has introduced me to. I think Behemoth was one of those. Bring Me the Horizon, all the B bands. But yeah, if there's a Mount Rushmore, it'd probably be Rush, Avenged Sevenfold, Metallica, and Porcupine Tree. Those are like the four most. Yeah, it's weird.
I wouldn't say Porcupine. I wouldn't have guessed Porcupine.
It's weird to say, because the reality is I don't draw on almost any of that for this band.
Yeah,
I draw on that for stuff away from this. For this band, it really is. Yeah, mostly, I guess, Behemoth is what I like think about when I'm approaching the drums. It's kind of who I would imagine is controlling Nick's head Ratatouille wise, a little bit.
The rat's doing the cooking.
He's got black metal. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Porcupine Tree is definitely up there. I think listening wise, they're number 2.
So now with you, you're a multi-instrumentalist. You started on drums, but then eventually you gravitated towards you said keyboard, guitar, and I believe bass too, right?
Yeah, bass is the number one at this point for me. It's where I make the most money too. But yeah, bass was was Metallica. I think I saw like every little metalhead. It was a combination of S&M, which we really connected on.
Yeah.
And Seattle 1989 and Jason
Another
New's
fantastic
oh
one.
my god, yeah.
I watched that shit on repeat when I was a kid.
It was
I had
that
that shit
yeah.
downloaded on my PlayStation Portable in like 2007.
Oh yeah, I still have them on an iPod, on like a Metallica only iPod.
I had the DVD case, the Binge and Purge set.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
I have one that I bought and I didn't realize it was sealed. Ooh, so I don't want to open it. No, I don't want to open it.
The collector of me is telling you don't open it.
I have that and an Operation Live Crime one, which also high up. But yeah, and then so those two really brought the bass element into it. And guitar followed only really because I had to in order to get into production college. I had to like play guitar parts, you know, so that I could show them like, hey, I know how to produce. And I don't know, COVID hit, and that was really where those skills kind of developed. But yeah, it was definitely drums, far later on, like, 12 years later, maybe bass, and then guitar. Keyboards, I tried to get into at multiple points in my life. One of the times was when I first joined. I was our keyboardist for like a year and a half, which we might get into. And then also what I don't think these guys, they might know, is that my like main instrument for a little while was clarinet.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, drums had gotten a little stale for me when I was like 10. And I wanted to expand a little bit without having to deal with, the piano, which sucked. And yeah, clarinet and saxophone just naturally kind of filled that void, and that was where I got most of my initial music theory knowledge.
Cool.
So that was a pretty clear pathway to the bass. And I mean, total honesty, I wanted to impress girls, so
yeah,
guitar and bass were natural eventual skills.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
The clarinet.
You'd think, right?
When I was growing up, like drums was my first real instrument that I was on. I was obsessed with like Mike Portnoy.
Yes,
he was God.
I forgot Dream Theater.
That was who I was going to say. Instead of Porcupine Tree, I was going to put Dream Theater as your fourth one.
Yeah, but Porcupine Tree is actually good. Anyway,
it was actually like a constant battle between like me and my uncle at that point of who was the better drummer. He's team Neil Peart 100%, and I'm Portnoy 100%. I have the Mike Portnoy Liquid Drum Theater
DVD. Nice.
And
I have one too.
the same year I got that, he handed me the Neil Peart one.
Right.
And I was like, you son of a bitch. He's like, this is how you really play drums. I was like, yo, come on.
I have put this out there enough that I'm comfortable saying it on a podcast, but my license plate is Peart.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I whoever had it years ago must have died because it was available on the DMV website. And now I get like the most romantic looks from bearded, ponytailed 70-year-old, AARP beneficiaries. Those, they eat that shit up. So yeah, no, that's my team. But Portnoy's number 2 or 3. So.
I did see Rush one time, and they put on a fucking clinic.
When was it?
Snakes and Arrow Store.
That was my first show. Yeah, it was Jones Beach.
Yeah,
that was my first show. Yeah, I saw them 3 times. I was lucky. I saw them then, and then their farewell tour, and one in between.
Yeah, I was very lucky to have seen that one because that it was one and only time I ever got to see them. Yeah. And like, next time around that I was able to was their farewell. Right. And I missed it. But now unfortunately they're kind of. But I'm glad I got to see them then. Yeah, they are phenomenal musicians. At one point in my life, Rush was a huge influence on me. Everything had to be like YYZ. I thought in YYZ, like what would Rush do? Where would they move melodically?
The funniest thing for me is that I feel like for a band that has been pretty much the sole reason for my musical career, I don't feel like I can draw on them too much because I'll never be able to do it that well. Every other piece of music still feels approachable for me to try and emulate or draw from, but really, aside from the technique, which is very similar to Neil's, and he just had good jazz technique, I can never feel like I can truly draw from my number one influences because they mean so much. I don't know if this is a thing you really deal with. You
Not
do
at
draw
all.
from Devin a lot,
Not at
but
all.
you know, still like
In different ways.
I don't hear too much Green Day in your music, and I know how much.
But that's where my brain starts from. You know, like if like I hooks and 4 chords, that's Green Day. You know, that's not like you know.
Which is a good segue.
That's a great segue.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, Nick. What about you?
So what do you want? You want new stuff? You want where I started? What do you?
Whatever you want to give me, really.
Well, I guess we'll go with
I think
what I said.
the Green Day segue. So I started like playing guitar I was like 10 years old. I really loved Green Day because that was like what was on the radio at the time. There was like Linkin Park and Green Day, and like you get like Matchbox 20, whatever the fuck else was on the radio. But like, you know, I really loved Green Day, and so I, you know, got a guitar. I tried to learn how to do the thing. I was kind of in the same boat as Ethan. I did not want to take lessons. I think I took 3 before I was like, this is fucking stupid. And I just try to like, you know, I wouldn't really actually play the guitar. I knew how to play power chords. I knew how to play an A chord, and like, but that was it. And I would just really just do rock poses in the mirror and just pretend like I was like, you know, I was Billy Joe Armstrong.
And then next year he put out the first Monolith.
No, but I was like, he's back. But I was like really into when I was younger, like the Green Day like type of shit. And then I was also like really big into like hip hop and rap. And I don't know what it was necessarily. My dad bought Enter Sandman on our iTunes library because he just had a family computer.
Yeah.
So, and I would always just go on there and play RuneScape or whatever, and just put on music. And it came up on shuffle one day. I was like, this is incredible. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. And it just kind of like just cascaded from there. I got really into Avenged Sevenfold, like right after that. Like I had heard of them prior, like from like Madden 2004. I used to just put Chapter 4 on loop. Because you can remove all the other songs you don't want to listen to, so you just listen to Chapter 4 on loop. And so like it was, was listening to that stuff. I got into Slipknot, which made me want to pick up drums. And I did actually learn drums for 4 years. I took lessons. I did the whole 9. I could probably still write drum notation if I wanted to. But that was like my big thing into like heavy music, into like, I tried to start a band in high school and I was the drummer. I think we played the same beat for like fucking 8 minutes. We were like, oh, this is the greatest thing since Master of Puppets. And it was terrible. But did that up until college. And when I was like, I can't take a whole drum set with me. So I decided to pick up guitar again so I can get laid. Unsuccessful. But
let's shatter the illusion.
Listen, almost a couple of times, but never all the way through.
Here's the Satanist.
But I was trying to learn like some of the Avenged Sevenfold stuff, like that D melodic minor, D harmonic minor type of shit. And it wasn't until I got kicked out of school that I decided to like really sit and learn how to play guitar. Like, and I would woodshed for like 10 hours a day.
I just had to make a note that he said that Avenged Sevenfold shit, meaning just theory, just a fundamental like idea of music theory.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to it at all, really, ever. As evidenced by all of my music. But I was trying to learn all that stuff, and I was like just practicing. I would practice for like 8-10 hours a day, like because I really wanted to learn how to play guitar. I was like, I have all this time, I might as well use it to do something that I enjoy while I was working. So I would work weekends, and then I would just play guitar for 5 days straight, and then I would go back to work and then play guitar for 5 days straight, and just do that. Like, and somewhere along the line, I discovered Devin Townsend. So looping back to when I started, I grew up on like rock and roll. No, yeah, my third eye open.
This is the next chapter in the story.
Yeah. This is where Monolith begins. But when I was very young, like around the same time that I was listening to like Green Day and stuff like that, my parents were trying to get me into rock. Like it might have been my uncle, it might have been my mom or my aunt, but I was watching The Who, and coincidentally Pete Townsend of The Who did this thing where he would do like the circle like with his arm and stuff like that. But I didn't understand that he was doing a chord when he was doing that. He might have been doing an A or like an E or probably a C if I know myself well. But it just registered in my brain that he was doing that, and it just worked. And I was learning the first Devin Townsend song I ever learned was the song called More. It wasn't Kingdom. There's like the second EMG TV video. I watched More first. But I was trying to tune to that, and I tuned my guitar to open C. It's actually an open B, so the tab was wrong. But I tuned to open C and I strummed it. And I was like, oh, this just works.
Yeah.
And something in my mind was like, this, I don't have to think about theory or think about guitar or think about any of those things. And I've just been in it ever since. I started writing songs in it. I started writing like, riffs, and I just kept going from there. And since then, I mean, I'm not a drummer anymore. I do write a lot of drums, but I don't drum per se anymore. I play bass. I sing. I've learned how to sing over the past couple of years. When we first met, I didn't know how to sing at all. I used to just yell into a microphone.
Yeah, I remember always hearing you like warming up in the parking lot.
Just me yelling.
Yeah. You I think one of the first shows we played with you blew your voice out. Hard.
Yeah.
You guys sounded great as a band, but your voice was fucked. And I was like, oh man, that's gonna be rough to recover from. But then the next time I saw you, I was like, yo, Nick can sing his fucking balls off.
Yeah.
You steadily progressed to the point where, like, I think you are, and you're gonna probably deny this, but I think you're at that Townsend point with the shit that you're saying
immediately.
I
deny it immediately.
I hear it so much in your music, and like, it's because of you guys that I even know about Devin Townsend. Like, you guys covered. No. I forget what song it was, but
you're welcome, Dev.
Kingdom.
What?
You covered Kingdom?
No. Love. Strapping. Yeah, right? Huh?
It was that yeah. You had covered that, and like we were talking a lot through COVID, and you suggested I check out Devin. I found Kingdom, that ENJTV thing.
Yeah.
That was it for me. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, Devin it's like the cool thing about Devin is he's got music for everything.
Yeah.
So like when I was getting into learning how to play the guitar, and I was learning really like all of these songs, or just listening to like how we would speak about things, or I was like, oh, this really just does resonate with me as a person. And so I learned how to write through that. So I mean, a lot of Devin does come through my stuff, and I think unfortunately I somehow sound a lot like Devin at this point, where I used to not. And you can attest to this as well. I used to not sound like Devin.
Yeah.
But I learned how to like get my pitch and stuff from learning how to play these songs. And as far as singing goes, like I actually met, you know Rich Olson, obviously, but Rich and I used to do a Tenacious D cover band.
I forgot.
And one of the last times I blew out my voice was right before me and Rich had to do a Tenacious D cover band show. And I was Jack Black, and Jack Black has to do all like the 80s, like heavy metal tropes, like those things. And I just couldn't do it the way that I was singing normally. So I had to learn very quickly how to do like the Sebastian Bach, Rob Halford, like those things.
Well, that's
and then
more like fourth chord, isn't it?
No, it's Fry, but it's really mixed voice. But I was like, I found that the less pressure that I put, or rather all of the pressure, if I put all the pressure or a little bit of pressure, you can get to that scream that everyone does. But for me, because I was just trying to do it based on singing, that I was like, oh, this is kind of what Devin does, and you're like what all of my favorite vocalists do. So I, just natural progression of things got to doing like the pitch screams, got to doing like implementing and having a big part of what I do. And just funnily enough, it just happens to sound like Dev.
Yeah.
So
I remember when I first joined, it was 2020, and it was at this point. I was thinking about it. I've been in the band.
Joined in 2020?
Yes, we'll go through that story. I met the guys in the band as it was then. The exact date I know, it was December 23rd, 2020.
No, that was
2018. Yeah, what was it? 20?
Yeah.
2018. It was a Christmas show. You're on a bill with Letter and Mark, and
Rest in peace, Matt Gunn.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember the circumstances are not important, but we met and we kind of connected. We met a few more times, and eventually Nick was looking for a keyboardist, more as a means of like filling out the stage. And it was I think the idea at the time was get a bunch of people, to kind of fill it up. And whether or not that concept was going to work didn't really matter, because about a month after I joined officially, COVID hit. And, I didn't meet the rest of the band for a few months. As a result, eventually we started rehearsing when things kind of, let up a bit. And those rehearsals served to prep us for our
self-titled.
Yeah, for the self-titled recording.
Yeah.
During this time, I think you released The Great Calm, our first album.
Yeah, which is off Spotify.
Yeah, you're not gonna find it.
So self-titled is the first one now.
Yeah, as far as we're concerned, that's our debut. And I remember the process leading up to it. I mean, I had never really recorded in a real studio. I had never done it. I was 18, 19. So I was with all these like older guys. I was like, oh, I'm so cool, And I just remember listening to the demos, learning those songs, and then the first day of vocal record, because Nick wouldn't sing at rehearsals to preserve his voice, and he had blown it out during that time period, so I didn't know it was gonna.
I do this a lot.
Yeah, this is the last time it happened.
No, it happened recently.
Oh,
about 2 years ago, but that was sickness. It wasn't anything else.
Yeah. So we're going into the studio. I don't know what to expect, and I went in with our former drummer to a vocal day, and we're sitting in the back, and Nick's in the booth, and I remember just going, "Fuck." Like, I didn't know you could do that. I knew he had it kind of in him. I knew that there was a side to his voice that was screams and a side that was pitched. But at that point, I had no interest in any scream vocals at all. The closest thing that I listened to in that world would be Early Avenged and Gojira. So it really was like a new kind of thing to hear it at all, much less coming out of Nick. And the combination was brand new. And I mean, that is the blueprint, I think, at this point for your voice. You've changed it and tweaked it here and there. And I think you're a much better screamer, nowadays. But I remember that happening and going like, oh, okay, the final puzzle piece is here. And that process, I think, of recording it, as much as it was tedious and a tenuous time for us, it did reveal a lot about what this band's identity was. And I think the biggest thing was Nick's voice and its identity away from singers like Devin and, your influences. As much as there's similarity, but I think that just comes with having a good voice.
So you joined in 2020, and I'm curious because I'm trying to fit the puzzle pieces together here. The last show that we played together was March 1st, I think, 2020, when we were both really out of place.
Oh yeah, that was the fucking worst
seconds.
show ever. Dude. The worst show. We were playing. It is like, and this, I guess, talking to Andre because you weren't there for it, but that was the worst show ever. We played with who was it? Last 10 Seconds of Life.
Cabal.
It
was a deathcore show.
Yeah, it was
like
terrible for us. Show. Terrible for both of us. Sure that was so long ago. Revolution.
I'm pretty sure Echoes of a Crazy was on that show, and I'm pretty sure the Panther Choose was on that show.
No, Necropia.
Necropia was also there?
Yeah. I forget who
goddamn bands.
No, it was fucking ass, dude.
Because I've heard it started at like 3:00 in the afternoon, I think. It went so fucking long, and like there's Burn Your Bridges and Monolith, and we're just like,
yeah, I think we opened. You guys went on right after us,
but like I remember seeing you in the parking lot, and we're like, we're out of place here, right? Like,
yeah, that was bad.
I was in the band officially, but at that point I hadn't learned anything. I hadn't programmed any patches on keys. And so I think the idea was that was like the last show with that lineup before I would end up
Okay.
joining. And it ended up being very different. And a year and a half later, before we would hit the stage, and by that point I was already on bass in that lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've
kind of fucking
journeyman musician in my own band.
Making me feel old. I'm growing grays right now.
I am now at a point where
my head again.
Dude, he said he was at that Rush concert when he was 6. I was at that Rush concert when I was like 18 or 19.
Yeah, I am now at the point where I am older than you were when I joined. Which is, it took us a while to get there. I've been in the band for the majority of its existence, but
yeah,
which is weird.
Very.
Yeah, so that was an interesting show, an interesting point, because at that point, you guys were growing. Burn Your Bridges was ending.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing about Burn Your Bridges, and then all of a sudden Burn Your Bridges didn't exist. I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
that happened pretty quick. Long story short, that happened very quickly. But you guys, you just kept writing and writing and writing and growing. And I remember, I don't remember exactly what it was for, but I was on a Zoom call with you for something.
Oh, we were experimenting with Twitch streaming during COVID.
Oh my god!
I remember doing the Twitch thing with you guys, but then it was something that I was on directly with you, and we talked for a long, long time, and I can't remember what it was for.
I can't remember what it was for either.
It was one of those like touch base during COVID things. I remember that, and like we ended up talking about a lot of shit. And like I think it was around the time. Actually, you know what? That was when I think I was gearing to make the hot sauce for you guys.
Yeah. That
might have been like the call before we actually like met up.
Yeah.
But
which was amazing, by the way. And we were talking about it outside.
Yeah, I was like, the last time I was here, I was doing hot sauce with Matt, and it was amazing. And hopefully we can do another one. But I don't know what you're up to, but
I got time for it. let me know what you want.
All right,
I'll get it going.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Ironically enough, like I've told other people who were not in the know. I think you're one of the few that do remember, or you guys, I should say, that this was a hot sauce thing before it became a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, you were the only band that took a chance on me. And I can't even tell you how much I appreciate that.
It was real good. It wasn't much of a chance. We knew it was going to be good.
It's fucking good, great, man. And I appreciate it.
I bought it from our own merch table.
But yeah, listen, it was awesome. And I appreciated it, like that you were doing the service, not just for us, but you had wanted to do it for everyone else. And it was like, Dan touched on it before, but we're independent, right? Yeah. And I have plans to just stay independent.
That's the way to go
for as long as we can, right? But stuff like that and having the opportunities to do those things, like we don't have a ton of funds. Most of the shit just comes out of my pocket, and that was something really cool that I know, people that maybe even didn't like us were able to go, oh, you guys have a hot sauce, let me try it. Or people that, are fans that in different ways we can bring it to them, all that stuff, and connect on a different level. Whether it's just it's hot sauce, right? But everyone eats, everyone shits, everyone drinks water, so that's the quote of the week. But it was listen, man.
Shits, everyone eats, everyone drinks water.
But listen, man, it's true though. It's stuff like that, and you see big bands have, and it's something that I appreciated a ton that you were able to help me bring that to life. So
that's exactly what the goal was that it's something I noticed a trend in the major market is that everyone's got a hot sauce out. So at that point, I'm like, well, I want to do that for my friends. I want to get the local guys on that same level. At least they have something that they can take out of the big picture and say, hey, we have that too.
Yeah.
Everyone does shirts. Everyone does, little wristband things. But it was something unique. And I was like, because I don't know if you remember Even Flow.
I do. Yeah.
Danny.
I just saw my first local show there.
Really?
Yeah. A long time ago.
Danny's wing menu had all his wings named after bands. And I thought that was the coolest shit in the entire world. I wanted to do that. I wanted to have hot sauce flavors named after the bands that wanted to work with me on the island. And, yeah, you guys were the only ones. I reached out to a lot of people. You're the only ones that said, hey, let's do this. So I appreciate that, and it was an awesome experience getting to work with you. So I'm
Yeah,
glad that we were able
likewise.
to bridge that and continue, talking.
Yeah, man.
All these years later, dude.
Fuck yeah.
The show that night was killer. It was so much fun watching you guys do your thing and making your dream come to life.
When would that have been?
That was the self-titled release show. That was
That
a stereo.
was-
Oh,
that was,
wow.
What, Dara, I think, was on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dara.
oh my god. We
Mirrorless,
had
and
Jimmy Voller did the
yeah,
acoustic thing.
Jimmy played. Well, Jimmy played because Letter Mark had to drop off last minute because Matt got COVID.
Oh boy.
So it was Jimmy, then it was
Dara.
then it was, or maybe Muralist, then Dara,
Yeah.
and us, right? I think that was
I think so.
everybody. And if I apologize if I missed the other band on the bill.
It's
but-
so funny because you're again hitting on a thing that we were discussing outside was that show. I no recollection of that show. And every time I watch it, I'm watching a younger, skinnier, long-haired version of myself whipping around with a bass, and it's like, is that the same band?
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
it's
It's
really
not.
not.
It's really not.
It's so funny to think of because obviously all of our connections with you and your band were at the beginning of my tenure, and before what I would say was a current version of the band. So it's interesting to think about that era and those connections, like with you, while we're in a place where I
We
always
basically
think,
started the band anew almost.
Yeah.
I was gonna say for me the cutoff date is July 2023 when we added Andre, and then moving from that to Ethan wasn't that
Yeah,
long
Ethan, when did you
after.
join? Was that September?
September, honestly September 6th.
You would, if you're
Me and
better.
Andre were pretty much on the same call.
Yeah, right.
Initial call.
Because we had interviewed him at like a coffee shop, and then
No,
you had been on a bit of a bass chase.
Yeah. Well, me and Andre had met up. What was it? December of 2022.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was like right after we played the
I'm
show at
surprised
Nostalgia.
you
Like
know
we
any
get
of these
first.
dates. It's all like
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
it written down. I could tell you the exact date you joined this band. Actually,
Yeah, he's
kind of.
he is a nerd about everything.
I keep dates for everything. I want to know. It's cool to look back on it because then
Yeah.
you can go back in like your camera roll and like see what like that day looked like. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
it's funny that you
And is our Wikipedia page.
when I joined because in my heart I was in it from the start.
I mean, you
yeah,
were,
you kind of
basically,
were.
You were.
It is a very weird thing to look back on old performances because, and this is not a slight on our old members or anything like that, but the band came together the second these two were locked in, and which was July 8th, 2023, and September 19th, 2023, meaning that we're coming up on 2 years with you.
Anniversary's coming out.
Damn.
Yeah, which is crazy. This is the longest
Wild.
running lineup of the band that has ever happened. We've struggled to stay across the year mark without some turbulence. So it's
Yeah. And it kind of feels like I said, like we're kind of coming out of like this weird, like 3-year unavoidable rebuild,
Yeah.
or like as they say in the sports world, retool.
Yeah.
Like Andre and Ethan, like I really just genuinely can't like express to you guys both, like you guys are perfect for this.
yeah.
Like just the demeanors that you guys have, what you bring to the band, like we didn't have that beforehand. And it was something that I was like, when I was looking for new members to join, like I'm not even going to say like the guy's name, but we had a videographer that ghosted us completely. And I ended up with our very good buddy, Steve May. And Steve, who just has recently done our neurotoxin video, which should be done very soon. But
It's exciting.
yeah, it looks great. All 12 seconds I've seen it. But what made me think and really connect with Steve is Steve really gave a fuck about this.
Yeah.
And I really like wholeheartedly believe that both of you two give a fuck about Monolith. And that's like the biggest thing when it comes to like, whether it's like we're getting ready for a show or we're just solving problems, we're trying to figure some shit out. Like, I think vibes are fucking awesome. And I'm really happy with both of you.
I
And
don't
just couldn't be
dread
like-
going to a rehearsal because I have to see one of them.
Yeah, like
that
It's
can't
awesome.
be said for every band experience I've been in, where, you know, not necessarily always this one, but I've been in bands where it was like, fuck, you know, I have to endure this
We've all been
person.
there.
Yeah, to like
Yeah.
go through it. When it's been 2 years of not having that, even though, I mean, I'm, you know, they left the backup drummer and a drummer for a few years longer than we expected. And even with that said, I still am able to enjoy rehearsals, and I'm still able to like enjoy, you know, whenever we get together. And, you know, we weren't exactly trying, you know, in the past, we wouldn't exactly try and hang out after rehearsals. I mean, you know, and as small as that is, I think that, you know, speaks a lot to where we are as, you know, people. But, you know, you can hear it. When you hear us play, you can hear the synergy, and you can hear that there's not any kind of, you know, bullshit, you know, swirling around us or between us. And I think that's, it's just so much easier, and it makes it so much more enjoyable. And also, I think the attitude rubs off. I think that, you know, if when other people are dedicated to your own thing, you know, as much as you are, that helps. And I mean, you know, it's Nick's thing, but it doesn't feel like, you know, it's pointless, I guess. You know, it's nice to have other people of the same mindset.
One thing I've always known about Monolith is that you guys work. You're very work centric. From writing and recording and rehearsing. Through the years, you guys have become one of those bands that I see, and I'm like, I know that they work in rehearsals. I know that everything is about like nailing the performance. And if not, hey, kudos, because it reflects. It reflects in a way that's like you guys are pulling it off, and you're geared towards a goal.
And I'll be so honest and interject and say that is something that for me, you know, was not always the case. It was difficult. I still have feelings about it, but, you know, the trying hard element is these two rubbing off on me, you know. And I think Ethan in particular, you know, when we talk one-on-one, he's like, gotta play, we gotta play, we got rehearsals. And it's like, you know,
and Andre for me.
Yeah.
Like, when we do all our videos, I have to know what I'm doing on my guitar. I can't just like forget and then just like find my way halfway through.
And you know what?
Like,
there have been times when I'm like, you don't need to do that. And then I'm up there on stage playing a song that we've played every fucking show I've ever done. I'm like, how many loops is this chorus again or whatever? It's like, you know what, maybe. Yeah, I think that work, you know, ethic on the performance side at least is something I've been, you know, gaining through osmosis with these two.
I do want to touch on one thing with that show you guys did at Stereo Garden, by the way. I think that was a turning point in this scene because you guys took such a risk with that show, putting it in such a huge venue. And it's not really a venue that people, well, I wouldn't say people, but promoters on this island would look at and say, I'm going to give you guys a chance. You guys did that on like a Friday night, didn't you? Friday or Saturday night? Like you had a prime night.
I don't even want to look back, bring your calendar out and see what July 1st,
could tell you was. It was a Friday. It was a Friday night. I know because I was on a film shoot. My job, I do film audio. And I left from New York City early on the Friday shoot. And yeah, that show was a turning point for us. It was our final.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, in more ways than one. It was our final show with our lineup as it was then. We've had, you know, one lineup change since then. And so, you know, putting out an album that, I guess, was it that day or was it like a few days before? It was definitely a weird turning point. And, you know, I feel like, you know, this is getting a little into the weeds, but at that time, Nick was also developing this community on the internet of people that I did not realize existed. Not because he wasn't telling us, but because we weren't listening and we weren't paying attention. And I remember I was so caught up in work that weekend that afterwards I kind of sat down and I looked at what was going on after the release, and I was like, oh fuck, there's like people who aren't, you know, mom and dad, who are ordering this album, who are listening to it, who are DMing me about it because they think I was all over it. And I remember that being like such a turning point for my attitude about being in the band.
Mhm.
So I feel like, you know, that show is important. And as much as I don't remember it that well, I watch it and cringe because we were doing all kinds of stupid shit. Don't look up our Stereo Garden set because it is
No, do look it up because it was a good set.
it
was a
is so
fantastic
bizarre
show,
to watch
honestly.
that. And then if you we don't have any of the modern sets.
The what?
More modern sets. If you
No,
watch
I
that
don't.
set in comparison to us now, it really is just a different beast. And I think that was a product of that, because the next set that you can watch online is still with a different lineup, but the like gap in 1 year that was formed because of that show is wild.
So I don't want you to take this the wrong way. At that point, with that album release, you guys transitioned from a band who is here to play to a band who is here to stay. To put it,
That's a
bluntly.
good. That's a good one.
That's
You
a title.
guys-
That's a good title.
You guys always had the drive to play shows and write music. That was the first time where I popped on an album and I was like, this is a local band that's not going to be local very long.
Yeah.
You guys, like, I know your vision was fucking past the stars at that point. Which I also wanted to touch on because your marketing techniques are so unbelievably smart. With, you know, everything you were doing with I mean, you were dipping with events too. Like, you were learning from them with I forget what the NFTs, right?
Yeah.
Death Bats Club.
Yeah.
And then everything you guys were doing, just it put you on the next level for me anyway. Like, that show was a turning point because the music that you put out was completely different. The show itself, I'm gonna call it a success. I don't know what you guys thought about it, because
I thought it was a success for sure. It was like bittersweet,
yeah.
but the fact that we did get our shit together and do that.
Yeah,
was
we
like,
knew our lineup was going to change
Yeah.
immediately after, and that was a little bit consuming, which I think clouds some of the rest of it, but I think you're right. Yeah.
And the amount of people that you drew to that show was, for me, I was like, wow, this is a band that's really doing it. You're showing the entire Long Island music scene right now that local bands can do it. You definitely, I mean, you guys were with Club Loaded that night, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a hard cookie to crack to get them to take a chance. And you did it. And you pulled it off. So congratulations and kudos, especially on that, and starting the next chapter soon after. Because the music from that point forward has it's dug in so deep and it's locked in now. Like, you guys you found your sound, you found your groove, you found like every tone that you want to use. Like, every bit of it is incredible.
I'm gonna butt in before Nick says anything, because bouncing off of that, something that I always think about, because I feel I'm justified saying it, because I don't write the music. I don't do that. I support, in the role that I play. But I remember listening to that album the first time after it was done. And, we have our problems with it. It's a piece of art. You're going to, view it differently over time. But as someone who, remember, doesn't write the music, it's the best it was so good. It was such a good fucking album. And it was weird to think like, oh yeah, these few notes that you hear here and there are me. But it was kind of a moment of realizing that I've gone from being in this band because my friends are in it and because my friend is running it because I want to support him, which still motivates me. I'm here to support Nick's vision in part because he's my friend, but also at that point it was like, oh fuck, I also love the music, and I would still be doing it if I didn't, but because I do, I can genuinely feel like this is the best thing a local band has ever made. And even though that album I think has paled over time a bit to our newest one, it still is better than I think what a lot of people could put
I was
out.
just listening today to a few of the tracks from that album, and like it brings back memory. Like, it brings me back to that show, it brings me back to that era for you guys, and knowing you prior and knowing where you've come from and how far you've come. Like, Surrender is one of my favorite songs you guys have ever done. Like, that song fucking slaps so hard. Onward, Happy, like all that shit. I'm like, man, this is such good
Happy.
music. And then you go
Yeah.
into the new
Yeah, we
era,
can do that
and
now.
it's the same principle, it's the same sound, but it's further developed. And that's where you guys are right now, November of last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I appreciate that, man. I think every record is a capsule of where I'm at, right? It doesn't matter, like, I mean, artists in general, like it's just where you're at. And I think that record really did capture everything about what the band was then. I think the difference between then and now, I think, is mostly we're on that record, like we did a lot of like collaboration. We did a lot of like, normally I'm very insular when I write, but we really tried to like include everybody, even from Dan's little piano notes to like, the way that we're
just pulling up
what's being played on the drums or what's being played on the bass, and like, taking chances and trying to do something a little bit different. But one of the things that I've always tried to do, even though it's like, and I hate the term local just in general. I think that is a mindset I think that people should adopt. Like, don't call yourself local, because you belittle yourself by calling yourself local. You're independent. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. In fact, it's one of the best things you could be.
It's what every big band wants to be right now.
It's funny because ever since I started this, I'm like, I've never liked the term local band, because I feel like it's very it's kind of demeaning.
Yes,
it kind of puts you in a little bubble that you feel like you can't break out.
You're beholden to playing your area and to the people that are around you.
Bands vocab lessons.
Yeah, I don't like the word local, because local it's kind of arbitrary. Like, it's a word that it means something, but it doesn't really mean much. And you can shift the guidelines of whatever you want to make that to be, because some bands will stay local.
Yeah.
They will be the local bar bands forever. But there's bands that are working and trying to do the damn thing. And those bands, I think independence, a term that I'm going to start adopting now. Instead of local, it's something I feel like is holding too many bands down instead of boosting them up. And that's what this podcast is all about, is boosting bands up.
Yeah.
So,
and listen, it's like, you're talking about like the marketing and stuff like that before. And I wanted to just ask you what you meant by that, but also just in general, like on that topic, like the perspective shift of calling yourself an independent or calling yourself, not local, just not local, whether you're just a band or, you're even like regional is demeaning, but not confining yourself to a thing that you do, like having it just be all that you are is the important thing. And I think Monolith, for better or for worse, is just all that I am creatively. And that can be, in one direction, it could be in another direction, it could be very distilled like it is on As the Universe Dies, or it could be something that's, I was just thinking before, I had a song on the Great Column called Good Morning, which is a very soft acoustic thing. And then the very next thing, actually really the only thing that came out afterwards, was Interloper, which was like the heaviest thing I think we've ever made. All blast beats. But like I don't confine myself to a label. I don't like to label myself. I just like to be who I am.
Yeah.
So all of this, and I think we're still small, but we have a worldwide fan base. We have people like, we have the Blackcraft Battle of the Bands that's this week. And I assume by the time that this is over, or that you've put this out, that'll be over. But we have people voting from all around the world, from Brazil, from Germany, from Australia, like all over. So although we are like playing local shows, we're not a local band. We're worldwide.
The term
it's
local
just getting there.
Should have been obsolete after MySpace. There's no such thing truly as local. No, and if you're managing to be a local, if you're managing to be a local band today, that's impressive actually, because it means you've selectively ignored every single possible way to bring yourself out of that kind of, I hate people being like, oh, it's a mindset, but it really, at this point, it has to be. Yeah. Because, like you said, we have a scattering of fans that if you look at our analytics on our streams, I mean, the country list is damn near, the capacity for Spotify. become such a thing where, we might not be big, but it is cool to know that where those seeds are planted, all over. And I love seeing like a Shazam in Australia, or like looking at radio spins in like Belgium or somewhere where there's a German one recently. And that's, I love that.
Yeah. But that's it, right? You just do your thing. Like, whatever the thing is, like I think a lot of people in a more local scene will try and like, and I guess it's like maybe from business where you want to differentiate yourself, but the best way to differentiate yourself is by being yourself. Like whatever it is that you have to offer, like whether it's sing-songy acoustic shit or it's really blasting brutal heavy metal, like whatever it is that you've got, just do that. Don't try and one up somebody else. Don't try and do, the only person you'd be trying to like one up is yourself.
I was talking to Devin and Days a couple weeks ago, and Tom from Moon Groove last week. We had the same conversation about how the scene used to be very competitive. And Ethan and Andre, I don't know what bands you guys have come from. If you've played in bands prior, I'm assuming you have, right? It used to be a very competitive thing where it's like you want to get on stage and one up the band that was before you and make sure that they don't remember the bands that are after you. And it was always like, oh, we kicked so much ass, we had the best gear. And you look back at that kind of shit and it's like, wow, I was the asshole. I was the one who was competing instead of like just doing it out of camaraderie and saying like, these are other bands that I got to support and help lift up too, because they're the bands that are shouting me out. They're the bands that are putting my name out there too. And I feel like that's something that we've all done, whether we want to admit it or not.
We've had then my frontal lobe developed and I changed my perspective.
I can think of a specific incident actually where that mentality pervaded so strongly in this band, a former member, but still, directly insulting a band that had put us on the bill with them.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking about that, and granted, younger idiot that I am, but I was just kind of like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be in the band where that's what we stand for. And I think that, like you said, frontal lobe developed, and at a certain point, where's the competition? What are we competing for? The same 5 cents, on a Spotify stream. The reality is the collaboration is what's going to get you the money, because it means you're going to be on the same shows with these people. There's now more than ever no reason to be competitive.
No,
that's
why it's all about networking.
That's why features and things like that are so pervasive now. And I think that's something that every other genre figured out before rock. Yeah. And every other genre figured out before metal. And I think there's a deeper thing to that, and the primal nature of it. But I think that
you're seeing so many collaborations between so many different artists within rock and metal outside.
Exactly.
Well.
I mean, seeing bands bring people from other genres onto their. I mean, what was it? Mastodon had Marcus King, this incredible blues guitarist, on his, incredible. And so stuff like that. I think is something that took so long to reach this genre. And I don't know. Like I said, I am younger. I didn't see most of it before whatever, became an adult in the pandemic, so I've never really seen a scene without that, but I can see the effects of it, and I can look back to what people tell me. I'm glad we're where we are now.
It used to be a very toxic situation going to a local show because of that kind of shit, because the bands would always try to be the best band on the bill, and it never worked, not once. If you went up there and you played with any other purpose aside from having fun, your band sucked that night.
Yeah.
And when you watch your videos back, you know that and you see it. And like I said, nobody wants to admit it, but that was 100% of the time the case. It's, you got to be humble. You have to recognize your own talents, but you also have to know that like nobody out there is competing with you. Nobody is better than you, and you're not better than anybody else,
But you can be the best version of yourself.
You can be, and you always should be. But the best version of yourself should always be the one that wants to develop into something else too.
Right.
You should never have a limit set for yourself. Have goals and markers, but understand that you yourself are never going to be perfect. You're never going to achieve that. I forget who said it, but somebody said it, where if you think that you've reached perfection, just keep going. if you think that you've practiced enough, you haven't practiced enough. You know, like just be humble. But I do want to talk to Ethan and Andre a bit more because I want to learn more about your story and your come up. So we'll start with Ethan because you're all the way over in Dirty Jers. But what bands have you played in? Like, what's your local scene like over there?
So actually, before Monolith, I only played in 2 different bands. One of them was an actual metal band in Jersey. We didn't even play a show, actually. We did a ton of rehearsals. We did a music video. That band was called Descent Path. I still talk to a majority of the people in that band. Actually, I was getting so annoyed that we couldn't play shows that I started taking over networking, and that's how I met Nick.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He emailed. I think he emailed our Gmail account. I did not answer him.
I did not know.
No, he didn't. Fun fact. That's my fun fact. First time I reached out to Nick, he did not answer me.
Yeah, no. We weren't shows then.
Then after this empath started fizzling out, I went on Bandmix, and one day I got an email from now who's one of my good friends, and we got some other people in the area, and we all started a band called Milkshake Grenade. I left that band in like October, November, just due to personal reasons. No harm, no foul. You know, they're great guys. We were playing a lot of emo and math rock. So that's where I really learned how to play within pocket. I really learned how to kind of, you know, go crazy, but also be present and humble, and so to speak. You know, don't be too busy. Yeah, those were the only 2 bands, and I saw one day Monolith needed a bassist, and I was like, hey, I have a little bit of extra time, and you know, I don't use enough gas. Let me go.
So, is there any bands out there that you want to shout out?
Yes. So from Rowan, there is Monster Truck Fire Truck. They are just as awesome as they sound.
That's great.
Shout out to the guys in Jag 1. They really helped me out. Helped us out. You know, they put us on the bill and really, really helped us out. Those are really the 2 that really stay with me, but not a Jersey band, but actually somebody else on the island. Huge shout out to Jam Poetry. I love those guys. The 3 of them are fucking awesome. They're workhorses and they play their asses off.
Very cool. Andre, what about you, dude?
Before Monolith Zero, I didn't play in a band for like close to 10 years, probably took a long hiatus from it. But before that time, I was in a hood thrash band from Jersey City, Journal Square. We get together late at night, a lot of delinquents, like everyone in the band knew, like had seen somebody die. Like it was a rough bunch. I remember we'd get together, we'd like hop turnstiles, like just petty crimes, like they would steal booze from the liquor store, break into I think they're called immigrant buses, like little buses that drive around for like migrants, like fucking drinking them and shit. It was a bad bunch. It was a bad bunch.
Man's going to jail.
This is why I'm not saying the name of the band.
That's fun.
Nah, this
And
And you know what? Half of that band, rest in peace. The other half of that band, in prison.
Wow,
half of the band, they saw people die because they killed the other half of the band.
That's crazy.
Kind of.
And Andre.
Indirectly.
But with that band, we would play with like Lich King, Warbringer, like those guys, and like those were some amazing shows. I always felt good to be in those crowds. And prior to that, there were just a couple of smaller side projects I was in. I was in like a Pantera tribute band with like guys 3 times my age at one point, which was weird because one of the guys knew Dimebag Darrell personally, and like I came to join the band, and he's like telling me like, oh no, that's not how Dime played any of that. And, like I had to sit down with him, like relearn all the songs because apparently like it's just the tabs are all wrong. And then prior to that, it was like really my first main band experience was a band called Concord with a K. It was just a good old traditional thrash band from Brooklyn. So my all-time best friend was with me in that band, and yeah.
I feel like I know Concord.
You might, if you know, if you're from the Dix Hills bunch of people out here.
North Bad.
Okay. Like if you knew Rodrigo, Ian from Extinction AD, those guys, Jen Young.
Familiar-ish. But Concord resonates because I feel like I played with you guys at some point, like either a Blackthorn or Lucky 13 or one of those.
Would have been Don Hills most likely if it was anywhere.
Yeah, maybe not. You play on the island at all?
Nah, no. I only came to the island like 2 years ago.
And then I was born.
The name definitely sounds familiar though. But yeah.
Wait, where did the K sit in the name? Con or Kurt?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh shit!
Oh no way! No way! So like, no, I can tell you,
I've never actually noticed that because you've always got something on your wrist. I've never
can't see.
had a thing there.
That's awesome. I'm
That's
gonna
funny.
get Monolith over here.
Yeah, right.
Monolith and Zero.
The MZ looks very cool.
It does. I was actually thinking about it today. I was like, I think I get that shit like tattooed at some point,
You good?
like
Yeah.
somewhere. I'll just put it on my ass or something.
Little tramp stamp.
Yeah.
So, Ethan, Andre, the filling out the remainder of the band for the most part of Monolith. You guys had mentioned you had previous band experience. You mentioned your come up and where you are. What's it like for you guys to come from your backgrounds and join a band like this? Like, was it easy transition for you? Was it something you maybe like had to adapt to a little bit, or was it, because you guys are also living in different states, like how was it getting along with each other to become this? Like, if this makes any sense at all.
I think the work ethic and the professionalism of the band helps make it a lot easier than what I imagine it would be for a lot of people. It did take a little bit of adapting, just getting used to using like wireless in-ear monitors and like 4 units and stuff like that, because prior to this we would just bring our giant amp heads and cabs and plug in, and what happened.
Yep.
So I don't know. There was that aspect of just also just playing in this new tuning that I never really dabbled in. Is really weird. I feel like I'm playing with someone else's hands, so to speak. Like earlier outside, we were saying I can't really ever noodle at practice because like I don't know what the notes are of like the strings are on the guitar, which is kind of a blessing too, because otherwise you just hear me noodling all the time. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about that.
So no, I know you guys play in OpenSea. I've never played in OpenSea in my life. I don't even know what it is. So coming from standard, maybe like the slightest bit of drop tuning, like drop D, maybe for you, right? Because you said you did Pantera and stuff. They did some drop.
We didn't do that Pantera. No, we showed that Pantera. Yep.
What records is that? The later ones?
I mean, we pretty much stuck to Cowboys.
Yeah.
So what is
everybody?
What is OpenSea?
CGCGE.
CGCGCE.
Yeah.
How does that even work?
It's an OpenSea major.
You fucking tell me, bro. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
So the top string is the same as standard. The second string is up a half step. Everything else, imagine 2 like open fifths. So it starts significantly lower than standard and ends as high as standard. So you have not only a different kind of tuning, but you have a much wider range rather than just going lower.
Interesting.
It's like a piano.
It's funny because that's also my introduction to OpenSea, because I play in C standard.
Okay.
That's his fault.
Yeah. When I was doing the bass parts for us, I would do it in standard. It makes sense. And also, Nick, bizarrely enough, despite writing an open tuning, writes riffs that are incredibly conducive to standard. So I think Ethan adopted that.
So now, is that something? Is that something that you're getting more used to as a guitarist? Like you?
It's okay to say no.
Yeah, no, not at all. Aside from when we're playing together, I don't use that tuning. Like I don't think in that tuning. I don't riff in that tuning. It's like not a language that that I know.
Do you keep that guitar in just that tuning?
Yeah, it's just like the Monolith guitar.
So now, speaking of guitars, what kind of guitars do you use?
I have too many. I actually need to get rid of a few right now, but I'm a huge fan of Carvin guitars. Strangely not a fan of Kiesel guitars after the split. Used to be that you could get a really, really nice Carvin guitar and reverb for like $600-700, but like the value's kind of gone up and the availability has gone down in the years.
Yeah.
But it was always such a pleasure to go deal hunting for guitars because nothing would feel quite so good like getting like a mint condition USA custom shop Carvin for like below $1,000 shipped to you. But like boutique custom shop stuff like that aside, like mid-range Charvel, it is the best guitar you can buy. I've just had so many Charvels at this point, and I can't stop buying more. And every time I get one, they're just like they're perfect out of the box. You really hardly ever need to do anything to them. And like, I don't know.
I can't say I've ever had the pleasure of playing one.
Charvel's a great guitar. I had a Charvel Telecaster for a long time.
Yeah.
I just got rid of it because it had no songs in it. But
I mean, even starting out, I was always huge on Ibanez, and like I got my first Ibanez Prestige, and that thing is incredible. I still have it, but like every time I go to a guitar store when I'm around, I pop in and I try a few things off the shelf. I'll find the Prestiges and those guitars, and even like the RG Customs, and I'm like, these don't feel as good as they should. So I don't know if the workmanship has declined in years or what, but like, I don't know. It seems like Ibanez doesn't have the sauce anymore, the surrender sauce, but Charvel certainly does.
And now, in terms of like amps, what do you use amp cab wise?
Just a Fractal FM3 turbo.
Nice. Completely digital now?
Yeah.
Everything is through.
Awesome.
I still have a little bit of tube stuff at home, but it lives in boxes. I need to get rid of it. I just had a little 5-watt Blackstar head that I used to use with an FM3. Yeah, I saw the Blackstar right there. Yeah.
Of course, nowadays it's basically a DI box to my computer.
Little 6505 micro head. I had a 6505 plus with the very last band that I tried to join before the pandemic, and they played metalcore, which is not really my cup of tea. I didn't want to tell them that, so I just left the amp head there.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. Then I just broke off contact. So I'm hoping they just probably assumed that I died during the pandemic. But like, if times ever get really, really, really tough, that I need to put a roof over my head, maybe I can go and tell them like, hey guys, I'm not dead. I'm gonna come pick up that 6505 plus. You get a few weeks of Chipotle in me.
That is someone's stool now. Someone sits on that at a rehearsal.
I mean, you could always go back to the hood shit and just take it back.
Well,
don't admit to anything.
I didn't really fit in with that band. I would watch these things unfold with wide eyes.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining you like lumbering into a liquor store, twice the height of the poor lady working at the counter, just like taking one. What's she gonna do? Like,
she's not gonna do shit.
How old were you when you were in that band?
I was like 20.
Okay.
Yeah,
a little baby.
Ethan, what about you, dude?
I love the Ernie Ball Stingrays. They have been my baby. Before that, it was honestly the Squires. I mean, again, I was playing basement math rock, so like nobody was able to really hear me to begin with. And then I was at Guitar Center, and the first time I picked up a Stingray, I was like, this is exactly what I need. And I found it on Reverb for $250. And it's been my baby ever since. And then Monolith, as I understood it when I joined, I was going to need something either lower in a 4-string or slightly higher for a 5-string. So I saw another deal. I got the Stingray 5, and that's been my baby ever since.
Very cool.
I love Dark Glass. I absolutely love Dark Glass. I have the I can't remember what preamp I have. It's the non-digital one. That's the one, the cheapest one. But I have a microtubes. This one is 200 right here. Just something really, really tiny in case anything were to happen at a show. I could just swoop that in, put it into the sound system, and still be done with it. Yeah. My main companies are definitely for instruments. I'm starting to love Ibanez because of Dan. He showed me the bass that he used in Monolith, and I was absolutely wowed. At the beginning, I really didn't like. Ironically enough, I didn't like the tonal customization straight on board. I always liked having the effects to do all the heavy lifting for me, and then I got my Stingray, and I learned how beneficial treble is, ironically enough, in a bass. And it's really been from there. I would love to get some sort of like orange virtual cab or virtual sim something with the dark glass pedal setup, but I'm still rocking pretty much pedal into DI. I don't even have an interface just yet. But yeah, it's pretty much it.
Very cool.
Ethan's tone is so good in our in-ears. I always have it just as cranked as possible.
Yeah.
It's just so tasty. It's so good.
Oh, thanks. No pressure.
That's pretty cool. I struggle with trying to find like a good bass tone. I have no fucking idea how to dial a good tone in.
Just borrow Ethan's thing.
Yeah, bro, yeah.
Literally.
Google Jason Newsted bass tone.
That's immense. I bought this piece of shit bass like 10, 15 years ago. I bought it for like $100 from Facebook Marketplace, and I don't even know what kind of bass it is, but like it's beat up. It works. Like when I do my home recording, it gets the job done. But dialing out a tone is a motherfucker. I cannot get it to sound good.
My bass has 3 strings on it.
Yeah, I'm and I can never get like the precise tone that I want. So
see, that's the great thing about digital, is I have exactly the thing that I want, and I just never change it.
So like I've gone 100% digital. I mean, just I'm home recording. I'm not really playing in the band right now. So I use the amp legitimately just as DI. Everything else I have like Archetype Gojira X. I have STL Tone Suite. But that's really all I use. So I need to like expand a little bit. I think I need to go get the Mesa shit a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, I'm a fractal shill.
Yeah.
I think Fractal's fantastic.
I don't have money to spend on it.
Yeah, I mean, I really like. I have a few things that I do, and like I used to use like a Mesa sound for a long time, and like try to do that. So I've always done like a kind of hybrid digital or back when we used to play together, I used to do like a hybrid of digital and tube, but lugging around a tube amp is annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
And it weighs 100 pounds. Even though it has wheels, it's still like the worst fucking thing to load around. And then after that's like I have to bring all these cables and all these like just to try and get my effects the way that they're supposed to be. And
sorry, I nudged it.
Make sure it's
what are you tugging on under there?
Yeah. Share with class. But I invested in a fractal like I don't even know when I did, like probably 2020, because I got it right before we did, or maybe 2021. December 2020?
I don't have that in my notes.
I don't remember.
My note of dates.
I have to look back to my email.
Fractal.
You don't write down when we buy things?
I do have a full list of, because
But he writes down when he buys things.
Yeah. Oh, taxes, dude. When you work in audio, you can just write off all of that stuff. I have written up.
Stop right there.
I had a fractal. No, I didn't have a fractal. I had a quad cortex. I had a Kemper. Yeah. Nothing impressed with fractal though. I'm being totally honest.
No, but I've settled on like a sound, and I've had the same sound since like 2022-ish. I've changed the amp since then, but like I've gone from like the Mesa sound. Now I do like a 6505 thing, and it's very bright. I think Andre made a note of it at one point. It was just like, it's almost too bright, but that's the way I like my shit. And I just rock with that. I don't ever feel the need to change. So it's like, as long as I have that, like, I'm good to go. So, and I don't tone chase anymore. I don't like buy different fucking plugins and all that shit. Like, I used to buy everything, but I don't buy gear stuff anymore, besides guitars that I don't need. But you know, we all do that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Cool.
digital, dude. It's the way. I gotta get one of those cabs for it though.
So with your experience that you've had in other bands, Andre, what's something you feel like you could bring into Monolith from your playing style? Like, what's something that you would add if you could?
That's a really good question. It's something that I could add to Monolith. I don't really know if you need to add anything to Monolith. That's what I like about it, is it's already really good the way it is. I don't think you need to sonically add anything to Monolith. You just need to nourish it and let it grow. Just be there on time and do your thing. Yeah.
In terms of like solo writing, would you add more soloing or
no?
Nothing?
I literally would not change anything.
Thanks, buddy. That's a good compliment.
No, I mean, like you I wanted to bring it up earlier, but the rambling was rambling. Record you said, the record release party at Stereo Garden, like that record is literally like the reason why I'm here. Like I heard that because they were on a bill with a band that I was going to see. I moved to Long Island. I was going to a bunch of local shows just to like find shit to do. Then I saw Monolith was on, and I looked up all the bands that were on, and I ended up not making the show because I had other plans that night. But I was like, this music is really good. And I reached out on Instagram to Monolith, not even knowing any of the guys in the band. And I think I saw there was a photo of like 3 guys and not 4. So I was like, oh shit, power of deduction activated. So I slid into the DMs and I was like, yo, if you guys ever need some photos or a second guitarist, you know what's up. And then, you know, a few months later, I got the eggplant emoji back, and
no, I think I sent it back faster than that. To be honest.
Little do you know, it was 2 guys.
No, but yeah, we had a good talk about Happy.
So now branching off of that, Monolith doesn't really do as many covers anymore, right?
No, but on the topic of, we brought up Love before. I think we were talking at one point bringing Love back and doing that.
Would be incredible. But there's that one cover that I have to talk about now that you tried to hide from the world.
Oh God,
Africa.
Yeah,
it's so good.
What? The Toto
It's
song?
so good.
Yeah, I've done.
It's so good.
Yeah.
When the fuck did you guys cover that?
When did Mike leave the first time?
2017. It would have been
2019. No, 2018. 2018.
Back in the
a
days.
long time ago.
Yeah, this was before me, to the point where I am realizing I've never heard the Africa cover.
It's so good.
Where is it?
Thankfully, you deleted it, and now I can't ever listen to it again. I wish I had torrented it.
Was this the Hawaiian shirt days?
Yeah, the Hawaiian shirt days. Dude.
I had to have heard it live then.
You probably.
You guys did it live?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I did it once live, and I could not remember any of the fucking chords.
My first experience with Monolith Zero is we were getting ready to play, and they get on stage, and they have
no, that's a lie. That's a lie, because we were all black for the first show.
I don't think I was there for your first show.
Yeah, it was
it was the
what was your band before Burn Your Bridges?
Logan's Room.
No. Maybe it was that same show then, but I remember it was like it was Tyler's other band, Criminal Syndicate. It was Criminal Syndicate,
Was
Tala.
a Halloween show. Oh
yeah, we were all black for that one. I think that was where I met you.
Here's the thing: I wasn't there when
Oh.
you guys played.
No,
We double booked ourselves, or I should say, Tyler booked that show, and I had tickets to go see Lamb of God and Slayer. So I had the craziest afternoon of my fucking life because I went to Jones Beach, saw everything up until Slayer left, came home, played the show. So I missed the entire show.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So no, I did not see you guys.
Then we ended up doing the fucking Hawaiian shirt thing, which I mean was really funny because that's like one of the things when you read it on like a WikiHow how to start a band.
Yeah.
It's like, what's do something that makes you stand out. So we decided to wear fucking Hawaiian shirts.
Well, you guys had like the blow up palm trees and shit. At one
Yeah,
point,
it was funny. We did because that was the whole like with the Great Calm, like it was very tropical. It had all those things that we were doing, and at the same time, it was a lot of like heavy music or whatever. But like, I was super into like the whole like kind of island thing, and then Mike was very like would always just kind of dress that way anyway. So we would just the fucking metal Jimmy Buffett.
He
I don't
rocked
know,
it.
Oh yeah, he rocked the shit out of that stuff. But like we ended up just adopting that for a few years because that was just like the thing that we had started doing with Mike. And then after Mike left, it's just like I went straight into doing the whole like island vibe tropical thing with the Great Calm. And then like when Mike came back, we just kept doing it. And so
it was a fun era.
That was a fucking time, dude.
But yeah, almost assuredly I've heard that live and just never took notice.
We played it live once. It was Mike's. We played it. Fuck, I don't even remember the lineup, but it was. This was you're dating me here, but like it was. We played it once, and it was because Mike was leaving the band. We had one more show to play, so Mike was. I had done this cover because Mike liked Toto, so I was like, we were something that we would fuck around with. Like in rehearsals, whatever, like Mike would sing it, we would play like part of it. So I took it upon myself to just make the cover. And we played it live once. And Mike sang it because it was Mike's last show. So it ended up not being his last show. It ended up being his third, one of three last shows. But he ended up just doing that. So it was fun. It sucked, but it was fun.
Damn.
Right now, Marilyn Manson's doing "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins.
Is he
really? Oh, really?
But it's not. As
we
good
almost
as
did a cover of that as well too.
It's not as good.
The
as
first thing we ever did as Monolith ever did as a band was I wanted to get everyone up to speed on like recording because I had just graduated 5 towns and I was like recording myself all the time and I wanted to we wanted to have something out. So we did this drum recording session at I don't even remember the studio's name, but it was this huge studio out almost by where you live.
Voodoo?
No, not Voodoo. It was like something Palace.
Oh, the Mixed Palace?
Yeah, that's what it was. And we had tracked all of these covers. One of them was In the Air Tonight.
Wow.
I think. I want to say it was like some Phil Collins song. I think it was In the Air Tonight. I probably still have those drums somewhere.
You do. It was that Africa. Was it Blood and Thunder? It was a Mastodon song.
No, it's the whatever that one was, which High Road. We did that one. We did Storm Bending by Devin Townsend. I forget what else we did. We might have did Love. That might have been. We might have had that too. But those are all things like I was trying to like get everyone up to speed. So we did those things. Now that I've mentioned this, we probably need to be doing that then. But it has been attempted before once. But maybe now we'll do it again.
Yeah. That's so funny. I forgot about I wasn't in the band for that.
No, that was like early 2018 we did that.
For the rite of passage, I cannot leave the band until we once again perform Africa.
That can be your farewell show.
Yeah. I have something to look forward to.
I'll do it again then.
That's gonna be everybody's send off.
As people graduate. That's what it feels like sometimes when someone leaves. It's less like you're right. It's like it's a graduation onto a new thing.
Yeah, well, these are we end on good terms, and then we just go fuck you later on.
Not really.
But still,
not really.
We'll have to do Africa or In the Air Tonight or whatever you want to do. Got time?
In the Air
might
Tonight
as well do it.
Is good. That's fun.
No, yeah, and I have that song. It's a good segue. We have the next release we're putting out is outside of the neurotoxin videos. I have a 12.5-minute song called Haven, which starts with something that reminds me very much of In the Air Tonight. Which is it's like auto-tuned and shit. It's got the boom, 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 like those
We're
things.
about to have 3 drummers in this band that can go dum, 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 dum.
Do we paint ourselves blue?
And you guys got to be bald
It'd be a
too.
really good bit. That'd be the dumbest bit. We
That'd be
all
so
shave
fun.
our
I would-
heads and paint ourselves blue.
Dabba dee dabba da.
Yeah.
So Ethan, I would throw you the same question. If there's something that you could bring into Monolith, what would you bring in?
That was the question.
I truthfully cannot answer that question. I would genuinely have to say the same exact thing Andre said. And if I were to even say or think of anything, Dan probably did it, and he probably did it better.
I wouldn't. No, that's not true. Ethan's just humble.
That's what we like about
There's a
Ethan.
reason that I am not moving to bass again. It's because we have Ethan.
And that would hurt my feelings.
I'm not saying anything. You took offense once to that too. I was like, well, you can have more than one guitarist. Having two bassists up there is a little.
I was trying to start beef live on this podcast right now.
Yeah. Nick and Dan's first beef.
Let's do it.
No, Dan moving to guitar will solve a lot of my problems.
Yeah.
So
Now you said you're always going to be on guitar, but you're looking to lessen your responsibilities on guitar.
yeah, I'm just trying to do meat and potatoes and the parts of the guitar that are specific to open C that I do better than
Just holding down rhythms and stuff. Or...
Yeah, I mean, cause I sing at the same time, so it's transitioning between like a solo like Surrender, for example. I fucking can never nail that solo. Sometimes I nail parts of it, but not the whole thing. And it's because I often just don't have the time to go in the middle of it. So you just kind of like running on adrenaline, and usually that's like halfway through the set, you're like, okay, now I'm not running on adrenaline anymore. So like trying to solve the problem of like, I can give more to my vocals because guitar I can do with my eyes closed. I genuinely can play all of these songs with my eyes closed. I one taked Happy 3 times in the studio when we did that self-title. I got that unlocked. But as far as vocals go, like my attention can drift if I have to spend it on doing things that aren't or weren't written with that in mind. So like we have, and at least or live arranged with that in mind. Like we have, well, the new ones like Evolve. Like I passed all of the rhythm to Andre, and it's kind of spaced out in a way where it's like, you know, he can hold that shit down, and I have breaths. I have space for myself to play the guitar and do the leads. And like even when we come back in, it's like he's helping me with the real like the meat and potatoes of it that I can focus on doing like the wiggly things, and then you know all the other stuff that goes into how difficult that vocal is. And lessening my load in that I think will make for a better live experience. It's not always, I mean, like we said, like, you know, there might be shows where I have to pick up those things again, or Andre had to pick up more of, like, if Dan's not there, Andre had to pick up that slack. But it'll just be easier and better for our live show for me to not be so lead guitar.
Cool. So when it comes to the live show, I'm assuming you guys don't have anything lined up currently, but
We do.
you do.
I don't know if it's been announced yet, so I can cut in August. But I don't know that I haven't seen it on the socials since I've been using the Monolith stuff. So I haven't. I don't think it's been announced yet.
Okay, I'll make note to cut that then.
Okay.
Well,
We could say we have a show coming up in
should.
August, but
Yeah, I don't want to give specifics if the band hasn't dropped it yet.
yeah.
But no, that's cool. I'll definitely have to try to be there for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun.
yeah.
It's been a minute since I've seen you guys play, so
It's
like,
probably the last time you will ever see me drumming in this
Oh,
band. Yeah, so it'll be good.
Don't say that, I'm gonna cry.
Well, I'm gonna still play things, but you know, we have to do Africa now. Every time I switch an instrument, we have to play Africa.
wait, so who's playing the marimba though?
I could do that.
Probably
Probably. Weird Dan lores. I forgot to mention this before. I did take college marimba lessons when I was in high school.
Why not?
It was kind of a
While he was in high school, no less.
high school sucked. Anyway.
So we decided to pause for a minute. A little bit off the camera, Dan lore, but Nick, jumping towards you, dude. What kind of guitars do you play? I know you've changed a little bit through the years.
I've
with your
had
gear.
my main guitar is my Framus Stormbender, which is named Moose, which is like frame Moose, right? And Devin is Canadian, so it kind of worked out that way.
I did not know that.
It's Devin's you didn't know that?
No.
Oh, well, it's Devin Townsend's signature guitar. I have like the D series, which is honestly I find better than, because I don't like Evertunes or anything like that. I like Tone Pros stuff. So it has a Tone Pros bridge. It has active pickups, which I'm switching out for the Sinister Gates Sinbuckers, which I really like, but have never been able to actually use. I have them installed on another guitar that has taken me 3 years to decide that it's just the shittiest guitar I've ever used. But taking those out of that and putting it into Moose. I also just bought speaking of Avenged Sevenfold, a Schecter Zaki Vengeance Hollywood's model, which has a Sustainiac, which is it's black and gold. And I love that guitar. It's the only downside to it is it doesn't have 24 frets. But that has been, I've been writing so many songs on that lately, and I'm excited to use it live. I also have a James Hetfield Snakebite, which I used in the neurotoxin video, but I am trying to sell. So if anybody's interested and wants a snakebite,
we've been over that.
We've talked about it.
Talked about that.
I don't know if I'm actually gonna get rid of it, because at some point I can just kind of stomach it. You know, it's a guitar I don't need, but it's a guitar that is really fun to play when you're standing up, which is great for live, but shit for everything else. What else do I have? I have
the Holcomb.
I have the Holcomb. I have a Mark Holcomb PRS, which I used for a long time, which I think you're probably most familiar with. I have that one. I have an Epiphone Snow Falcon, which is a marvelous guitar. And I have Fishman Devin Townsend's in that. What else do I have? I have a Epiphone Les Paul, which I bought thinking it was a 2016, and it ended up being a 2000 or 2001 model, which it's lived a life and a half. And I don't know what like magic is in that guitar, but it's always got something going on. And it's a dream to play. Like if I had to pick like a desert island model, I mean, now the Zaki one is a little bit more, I play a lot more often, but I love each one of those guitars. And outside of the Hetfield, but I love each one of those guitars. And I don't know what would be my desert island one, truly, because they're all guitars that I love. So
Framus is like
the Framus is like my guy. Like I use that. Yeah, I really just don't track with it, which I just because I don't, not that I don't like the pickups, but I like how consistent like the Fishmans are, or like EMGs or all of that. And with the Framus, like the stock pickups that it comes with can be kind of fizzy. So I just tend not to track with it, but it's a dream to play. Like it feels like a Les Paul, but it plays like a double cut. And it has the 24 frets. It's the cut is in the right spot for my arm. It's like it's a spaceship. It looks like a like a Empire like starship. It
looks awesome. Like Darth Vader's guitar.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, I mean, I would say probably that's my desert island one, just because of how much I use it for just about everything. And once I get the new pickups and all the other hardware, and I'm going to make it black and gold to match the Schecter. But it's those are my mainstays. And I do a lot of my tracking with the Snow Falcon. Like just about everything I've done, even self-titled, was with the Snow Falcon. So that's been like the Monolith sound. It's unfortunately like I don't want to take it out and play shows with it, because it's my most valuable guitar, but also like it's the most sentimental. It's named after my grandmother. And it's like I just don't want to fuck it up. So I just tend not to bring it out. So but that's those are my horses.
I definitely understand the sentimental thing.
Yeah.
I had a guitar a while back. It was a Schecter. This was Diamond Series Hellraiser. It had like a really nice like vine inlay, beautiful blue color, and on the back I had a picture of my cousin Jimmy who passed away.
Mhm.
Had that taped on there. On the front, I had LBMY when I was in Logan's room because we were based out of Long Beach. Album's name was LBMY, and like that was a sentimental guitar for me. It was stolen out of the back of my fucking car.
Fuck.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, man.
Never saw it again. I didn't write the serial number down. I didn't know it was a thing that I should have done. But yeah, untraceable. Never got it back. So if anyone has stranger shit's happened in life.
Yeah, I got air tags in all my guitars now.
That's a good idea.
I wish that was a thing back then, dude. I really do. But yeah, I understand of the sentiment behind that. Like, I was bringing it to a recording studio to record that night. I didn't even want to go to the fucking studio.
Yeah.
Like, I checked out at that point. I had this one with me, I performed Les Paul, but
it's not the same. You know, it's not the same.
Plus, I fucking loved that Schecter, dude. That was the first like real guitar that I ever had. My dad bought me that one. Shit.
Yeah,
like
that's like with my Holcomb. Like, I wrote so much Monolith on that Holcomb, and like I still kind of like bust it out every once in a while. And like, I really want to write a heavy riff.
Yeah,
because it's just got that in it. That's just all it does is heavy riffs. But yeah, I get that. I some of the guitars that I have, like I won't ever take the Les Paul out to play, because it's a little fragile motherfucker. I won't take that Snow Falcon out to play. I won't like. I have like I don't mind taking the Hetfield out to play because it's I don't have any like real connection to that shit.
Yeah.
Like the Framus, if I ever lost the Framus, I'd be very upset. But I also think it'd be very easy to pick out that that's my guitar.
Yeah.
So
there's not many floating around there. So.
No, not at all. So it's unique in that way. So I kind of feel safe doing that, right? But you know, sentiment is like a huge like attachment to those things. Like I keep guitars that I'm attached to. Like I will let go of things that I just don't like. I had the Charvel Telecaster that I just don't. It was fun to play. It did not inspire me whatsoever. I played it with a bunch of gigs. It was like served me well. I had a ESP 7-string Stephen Carpenter that I used on the self-titled. That again, I bought it as I wanted a 7. Really fun guitar. Gave me tendonitis. Sounded great. But I just didn't really have. I wasn't writing anything on it. I wasn't like it was fun to record with, but I was excited to play it live. But at the end of the day, I just prefer 6, so I got rid of it. You know, and like I don't keep things that I don't find an attachment to. And like even with the snake bite, right? Part of why I don't want to get rid of it is because we used it in neurotoxin.
Yeah,
like that's gonna stick with it's gonna stick with us for for a long time. So like, that song is. I wouldn't say it's huge, but it's our biggest one. And it's one I think that, once we have the music video out, that will be, in accordance with my slow burn marketing scheme this time around, that it'll be something that is just as iconic as the song itself. I think it'll stick around. And I think that's, I probably the biggest reason I don't want to get rid of it is because I just think that it's going to be part of
one day you'll want it.
Yeah, one day I'll want it, and I don't want to get rid of it. So
yeah. What about you? You got a lot.
I'll run through it quickly because for different instruments, I
mean, you move in a guitar if you want.
Yeah. Guitar wise, I think for this band it's gonna be a little TBD. We're gonna have to decide. But my main 2 are a Fender Stratocaster that I put a Seymour Duncan Nazgul in the bridge and Brad Paisley La Brea Telecaster pickup in the neck. So a good kind of balance there. And then an old
Brad Paisley in a
Nazgul. Dude, it sounds great. Put it in parallel. And then I have a 1985 Ibanez RS-140, which is kind of their Strat clone from the day. That I just got the parts on Friday. I'm bringing it into my tech to install it. A tone zone and a fender lace in the neck. I like HS.
Yeah.
I like having space between the pickups. I don't find myself requiring that quacky, position 4 Hendrix sound or Frusciante, in the middle. So those are my main guitars. But I have a feeling this band will end up being an excuse for me to buy a new guitar. I'm eyeing an ESP Horizon.
Cool.
Probably gonna block off a Floyd for it.
Gross.
I know, but I love the next. But
I don't know how you guys like Floyd.
I don't like Floyd's, but
I have them blocked off.
Well, someone should write solos with
Yeah.
dive bombs.
I love the fine tuners.
Yeah, that is nice. And then real quick,
It is big speed.
I would track everything on an Ibanez SR 370, and then drums. I have just all Tama drums except a bell brass, scratch, snare, and Meinl Byzance cymbals. So the drums are the highest end hardware that I own.
Yeah.
But
Makes sense. Drums are fucking expensive.
Drums are so expensive. Well, my rule is always only buy instruments with money that you've earned from that instrument. So I did an off-Broadway show on drums, and that paid for a full, revamp. But yeah, those things are expensive. Even drumsticks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to miss paying for $15 a pair of sticks for this band when I'm breaking like 5 a show.
I wanted to get back into drumming. A buddy of mine was putting together a little cover project that he was looking to evolve into an original. And I told him, like, I'll help you get started, if I could find all my old shit.
Right.
But I'm not going to go investing all that much money into it. I have, like, old Iron Cobra pedals, but it's 2 single pedals. It's
right.
Not a double. I was like, that's kind of a deal breaker for me.
2 kick drums.
I mean, I love
That'd be very machine head.
I love the aesthetic of a double bass kit, but for something like that, just a double pedal would suffice.
I only own double pedals for the reason.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of like what you see on like a tour or something like that too is all just double pedal. It's just that it's just there.
Sound guys hate you. Every studio session I've ever done was double on a single kick. I mean, no one wants to, and it gets never replaced anyway. So
yeah. Zach's reading.
But no, I always said that drums are the most expensive instrument to maintain because, like, if you fuck up a head, it's $40. If you break a stick, you gotta get more sticks. That's at least $15-$20. I used to play with a head drumsticks because Lars already plays with those, and I fucking worship Lars.
Those like $60. Dude, those things are fucking expensive.
They were $45 for a pair when I started playing them, and how quickly those things broke.
Yeah,
dude. Within a month, I had like the fucking the rod that goes through the stick broke. It's like
signature drumsticks are one of those things, even with unique gimmicks like that I cannot get behind. And there's no.
I like Joey Jordison's.
So Joey also used to play a head drumsticks,
but he switched to Promar. Yeah, and I had a bunch of those. Those were really fun to play.
I had a bunch of Mike Portnoy sticks, a bunch of Jordison sticks, Chris Adler sticks, but like those were the cheaper and fucking wood.
Yeah, they wanted to just sell you
the only drumsticks that I've used that are signature ones that I really liked, which not necessarily because of the drummer, but Mike Mangini.
Yeah, I
got a signed stick from him once, and I was like, oh, these are actually nice. They have a good weight to them that does work for a band like this. But other than that, I've never really found signature sticks all that great. Stuart Copeland, good sticks.
I liked when I played drums, I liked Vader 3As, and towards the end of my drumming career, I settled on like 55A for Vic Firth. This was like
3A is a weapon.
Yeah, dude. Those things are great, but they were really light. Was the thing like you could have like the speed of something that was way lighter, but it had the thickness of like.
I've stuck with 5As since I was like 14. It's just
I forget the brand of the stick, but it was like a wood burn stick. It was like dark looking, big, thick.
Maybe Vic Firth Terra or Promark Fire brand.
That might be it.
Yeah. Portnoy had one of those.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. But this thing had fucking weight to it. And I ended up not using it. It hurt to use. I bought it because I picked up.
Maybe
this
the marching
looks
stick.
Really cool.
Maybe the marching stick.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't a marching
stick.
No?
Okay.
No. Marching sticks I always found more comfortable.
I have a pair for practice, like rudiment practice and stuff. Although my current stick, and it has been this way for a while, is the fire whatever version that of Vic Firth's 5A. It costs the same, and there's a little bit of the gloss to it because I used to use like when they dip the sticks.
Yeah,
I used to use those, but at the end of the day, if you can't make a drum kit sound good with any 2 sticks that you've ever picked off the ground, off the house kit ground, you're not good enough. You need to be able to do it. So I try not to nitpick too much. But
so music gear, like I'm assuming you stick to sixes, right? You're not really big into drop tuning. I can't imagine you going like a 7-string.
Yeah, no, I flirted with the idea of more than one, but then I'm just like, I would never play it.
They're fun.
I sold all my 7s over time.
I wanted that one because it was ridiculously large.
Yeah, I bought this one from Maroof from Dark After Dawn.
Yeah, I remember that band.
They're still doing their thing.
Are they?
Yeah. Still
we played 1 or 2 gigs with them like way back when.
Yeah, they played the one and only Burn Your Barbecue that I did.
Oh yeah, but I think we were supposed to play that too. I don't remember. We ended up actually doing it.
I don't remember.
No, I don't think we did. No, it might have been. No, I think it ended up being me and Rich, and then I think Rich just did it.
Yes,
I think that was what ended up
feels
happening.
right.
But we were slated to do it, I think, at one point. But I was looking forward to that.
That was such a clusterfuck of a show. I had bands laid out, and then so many of those bands were like, yeah, we can't do it, or ghosted me, or they refused to do a pre-sale for it. I was like, I'm investing like almost $1,000 in the show. There will be a fucking pre-sale for this show. Like, I'm not really big on doing that, but I'm not asking them to sell anything extreme. I think it was like a 5-ticket pre-sale per band, just so I could recoup something. And then anything after 5 tickets, every band keeps. But yeah, it was a fun show. I don't remember a single damn thing about the lineup because that's outside barbecuing all day. Which it was fun as fuck in that sense. Like, I think it was $15 through the door, got you food all day, music, whatever. And then I wasn't going to sell any sort of drinks because we were at Shakers. I wanted the bar to make their money too. But I know Rich Olson was there. I know he did something acoustically. I know that I had talked to you about getting Monolith on there. I think Echoes of Acrasia played that show. I know Burn Your Bridges did.
Yeah, I think we were supposed to.
But
I remember making flyers or trying to like think up flyers for it.
Burn Your Barbecue is such a good.
Yeah, great name.
Dude, and then that day my fucking grill caught on fire, so the barbecue did literally burn.
Are they supposed to do that? Wait.
Oh no,
not like that.
No. I used charcoal. I didn't realize it was quick ignite charcoal. I also used lighter fluid, and it was a fast accelerant. The fucking paint caught fire. I ended up having to like splash water on it to put it out. Like, it got out of control.
Burned your barbecue.
Burned your barbecue.
Oh my God.
Manifested that shit.
Yeah.
But
So next steps for the band. I know you mentioned you had a show coming up that details will be coming out soon for. Do you have anything else planned for the remainder of 2025?
Gonna continue doing like just recording and stuff. Like I said, there's songs that we I don't know if it's gonna be in this podcast recordings. I don't know what we cut. We're not cutting, but like we have older things that I'm re-recording that I think that, back in 2019 or whatever, I don't think I did them quite as much justice as I could do now. And so I'm trying to just, get those things back out there. I think they're like integral parts of what this band is, but they also mean a lot to me. Like, they're songs that like I like one of the songs in particular is a song called I Am, which was one of the most powerful things I've ever done as a musician. I had not sung the song before I went to go record it, and I just recorded it and let the whole thing out, and it was like just one of the most poignant things I've ever done as a person. And it's a real big song about like just me and like how I guess it's like a good baseline for who I am now, the type of person that I am now, and the adult that I've grown into. And it all started with that, right? And I think that doing that justice, I think I still feel things when I listen to that song, just because of how emotionally significant it was to me. And there's another one called Holy Infinity, which I wrote in a fucking fever dream of like it was like New Year's Day. I think I shit out that entire song in one day.
Wow.
And
Some of my favorites.
it's a great song. I just don't. I think I was like, and surprisingly, it's well baked, right? It's. But I think I was not as accomplished of a singer as I am now, and all of the work that I've done in like production and like getting and mixing and writing and all of those things. Like, I would love to hear that song with harmonies. It has no harmonies. The whole thing is just the same all around, and I would love to add things to it and orchestrate it more and like have it be this beautiful, wonderful thing that it is in my head that it just isn't in the recording. I think it's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm incredibly proud of it, but I think that now I think that I can really do justice to what my actual vision was in the first place. So I'm looking forward to doing those two and putting those back out. As I mentioned quickly before, there's a 12 and a half minute song called Haven that everyone that I've shown has said that this is my favorite Monolith song. So it's out in left field. It's very prog. It's got 7 scenes in it. It doesn't it's wild. And it's kind of like not in a bonus to As the Universe Dies. It's kind of like what that is just boiled down into one song.
At
like
some point a call was made to not put on the album.
Yeah, because I thought that, I think we both thought that it was like the songs that are on As the Universe Dies, I think they all encompass what Haven is about. I think that they're more conceptual in a lot of ways, whereas Haven is more me personally, like what happened in order for this to happen. And while they aesthetically have a lot of similarities, it's just its own thing. And so while it is like kind of like B-side, it's not B-side. It's very much its own thing. I don't think we'll ever play it because it's kind of ridiculous to pull off.
Yeah.
But maybe one day when we have 20 members and we can do all that. But until then,
take over Slipknot.
Until then, we're not going to be playing it live anytime soon. But it is a wonderful song that I'm really proud of. I think it has some great. It's almost like Bring Me the Horizon, all their kind of new stuff in a way where a lot of it is demo work that I polished, and I could not get to be as like to hit me in my feels as much as if I re-recorded it. And I did try to re-record a lot of it, but like there's a lot of like like I was big into like imperfections, and I still am big into imperfections and things, which is why I fucking hate Zach Cervini and Jordan Fish, because everything is perfect.
Yeah.
On the grid.
But with this, I mean, there's a lot of things that are on the grid, like, but at the same time, like there's some free time stuff in there. The guitars aren't always in sync. There's moments where like you could tell I corrected the fuck out of this vocal. You can tell that this is my demo vocal. This is my new vocal. But at the same time, it's just a really wonderful art piece, and I think it really encompasses what I personally have gone through over the past like 5 years or so, like with everything with the band, with me personally, and like relationships and stuff that I've had in my life and where I get to. It's vulnerable in a lot of ways that while As the Universe Dies is like vulnerable, it's not like just explicitly vulnerable.
Yeah.
And like with Haven, like I think it's a great song, and like I said, everyone who's listened to it has really, really like taken to it, which just surprised the fuck out of me. So I'm excited for everyone to hear that as well, which is that's ready to go. I mean, you can drop that whenever, but
something you can only do when you're independent.
So I do have one last question for you guys individually, because a lot of what Face the Music is about what music has done for you in your life. For me personally, music has always been that thing, that go-to that pulled me out of a depression. It pulled me out of a bad time in my life. It like brought me to a happier place. I'm curious, because everyone has their experience with that. What are yours? So
start with I'll go last.
We'll start with you, Andre.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be the first one to answer that. It's always just kind of provided a sense of balance and order in my life, something that I could stick with and come back to. A lot of I get really obsessively passionate about different things that I encounter in my life, but I'll obsess over them for a few months or years, and then usually put them down, not entirely, but just kind of in the back seat. But music is something that I can always come back to. Although I will admit, in recent years, it's a little bit more difficult to stay passionate about it. Not in the sense that like it doesn't excite me, but just like finding the time to like, oh, I'm gonna go pick up my guitar.
Yeah.
It definitely helps to buy a new guitar because then you get like really excited to play it for a little while, and then you got to buy another one. And, like the vicious cycle continues. But then a big part of it is also just like physical accessibility. Like right now, I have 2 cats, so I keep everything in cases. Whereas before, like the guitar would just be sitting out there. So like you sit down, you grab it.
Yeah.
It's just naturally going to happen when I sit down. It's in the case. I'm not going to grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about like in terms of like listening to music? Like what bands do you listen to when you're feeling like you need to reconnect?
Well, I think I'm an Apple Music guy, not a Spotify guy, but I think like my top artist for like the last 4 or 5 years in most categories has been Alice in Chains, which is absolutely crazy for me because up until like 5 years ago, like I would have told you I hate Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
I can't get enough.
I love Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Everything about them is far beyond their time.
Funny enough, I kind of got into them in like a reverse order because I got super into the album Coma Ecliptic by Between the Buried and Me, which like I didn't even know any of their other stuff. I just thought it was so awesome and theatrical, and I got into it as a byproduct of being obsessed with Brendan Small's Metalocalypse,
great album,
the rock opera, whatever
the
name for it was.
TV show,
clock opera. Yeah. I loved the clock opera so much that I sought out Coma Ecliptic, and then from there I got into Giraffe Town Orchestra, which is like the super group that is like more proggy and theatrical from Jake Duvall, who was in Alice in Chains, and then like reverse dove into Alice and just loved it.
Yeah, Alice in Chains is one of those bands that I also like. I go to just mellow out sometimes. No Excuse is one of my favorite fucking songs of all time. To just put something on and listen and like it makes you feel like kind of less alone sometimes. Yeah, I feel that in a big way.
One of my last relationships was to a stripper gal, and the amount of times that I'd find myself driving home late at night singing along to Love Hate Love, man, it's too many to count.
Ethan, what about you, brother?
Honestly, kind of like Andre, like it changes over the years. When I was young, before I even picked up the guitar, when I was still playing Guitar Hero, it was such fantasy to me because, I was stubborn, dumbass kid. My dad was giving me the opportunity and I said no continuously. So, it was always just a fantasy to me. Then once I actually started playing it, it just became this whole realm of just almost the beyond. It's like, you can do anything. You literally can do anything. It doesn't even need to sound good. That's why punk exists. But yeah, as of late, I've noticed that I'm only 26, so it's kind of crazy to say, but like I've noticed that a lot of the music as of lately has just made me feel really, really nostalgic, and it's even stuff that I've been listening to as of lately that I've never listened to before. Like this might sound crazy, but I recently got into Tool like within the past like 6 to 12 months, and when I first started jumping head first deep into Lateralis and 10,000 hours or 10,000 days, hours, whatever. Anyway, the album with the faces. I almost started feeling a sense of nostalgia and letting go because it started making me realize that, nothing really matters. So you kind of just do what you want on your own volition anyway. And that gave me some sort of solace. And, now both as a music lover, I, I'm I'm blessed with, although I'm in Jersey, I still have New York City like less than an hour from me, so I can go see like all of these different places, from like a little jazz club to a rinky-dink metal bar, or like even something as crazy as like, it's not really that crazy, but country. It's not my cup of tea, but like, it's it's become such an escape for me. And whenever I play, whether it was with my previous bands, either rehearsing or actually doing the shows, or this band right now, you know, it's almost like I'm not going to say like I'm putting on a mask or a facade, but like I'm living that dream that I never thought I was going to be able to. When I'm not playing Madison Square Garden, but like I love what I'm doing and I love where I'm doing. I don't mind spending the extra hours in traffic and whatever on gas, taking weekenders, because I'm doing what I want and love to do. And there was a question you had asked Andre about escapism,
Yes.
or what it starts meaning to you. There's actually this ambient atmospheric guy who, again, doesn't fit Monolith whatsoever. His name is Joey Pecoraro, and he's one of my absolute favorite artists. He's one of those guys where like you kind of just put into the radio while you're taking a nice drive, taking a nice walk, and it makes you reflect on your life and almost makes you like think you're in a movie sort of sense. He uses a lot of old timey vibes, and it makes me feel so refreshed. And like as of lately, I kind of have been feeling overwhelmed because like we're finally getting over the winter blues, so to speak, and we're finally getting into the brighter weather, the nicer, just wanting to be outside.
Right.
And being able to have that form of escapism while also being able to just, enjoy life, it's unmatched, truly.
It's funny you mentioned the feeling of like soundtracking your life a little bit. For me, an album that did that for me was the first Liquid Tension Experiment album. That album, it zoned me in. Like I would put that on and go for a drive. Like on a rainy day, that was my favorite fucking thing to listen to. I would start driving and just, if I was home before it ended, I would sit there and finish the whole album. Like it took me to a place.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. I think you might like it.
You'd like it, Ethan.
Someone could send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. Music has been, my primary form of expression my whole life. I'm very lucky that working with it and working with sound and audio is my career. It gets to be my, everyday thing without even needing to set aside other aspects of my life. At least now, who knows where life will take me. But yeah, I mean, what exists as right now for me is, I'm in two bands that really take up, all my brain power. And one, I write all the music, and in the other, I co-write all the music, and the other I don't, which is this. And in both bands, I get the same exact things, which is the ability to work with one of the two people that I regard as genius songwriters above anyone else that I have heard, not just on a local scene, but like ever. I get that out of both bands, and then I get friends that are really fun to be around, and that's great. And what that has afforded me is the ability to create a legacy that has nothing to do with its reach, and has everything to do with the its creation. And it's nice to look back sometimes on music that I've made in the past, more often than not with people that either I don't talk to or I hate, even in some cases. And it's nice to look back on that and go, despite all the pain that came about from whatever was happening personally, I get to listen to that and I get to enjoy the silver lining that came out of it. And that's going to last as long as, the internet's got fucking hard drives. to store it. And you know, where that reach, you know, extends to has already, largely because of this band, surpassed what I could have ever dreamed of. And so at this point, we're just, you know, riding it, you know, riding the wave higher and higher. So, you know, I'd say that that's what creating music has given me. As far as, you know, listening, the reality is I have a comfortable life. I'm pretty happy. I don't struggle with a whole lot. And so escapism has never been something that I turn to music for. Honestly, if I'm having a bad day and like I need to do something, I'll probably throw on like a movie. But you know, when I want to create a nice moment for myself, you know, like they're talking about going in the car driving home from something. There's a jazz album called Fleeting Future by an artist called Akusmi. If you just look at Fleeting Future, you'd find it. Great little jazz album. Don't Forget Me by Maggie Rogers. Great singer-songwriter album. Perfect from front to back. Billie Eilish's Hit Me Hard and Soft is the closest thing to a like an emotional release album for me. The emotion that I'm feeling most of the time with it is, damn, I wish I wrote that. But yeah, I think that music has been the you know, if not the source of my happiness, it has been one of the catalysts for my happiness at every moment of my life. So yeah.
Very cool, dude. Nick?
Listen, man, I would not be alive if not for music. Just straight up, I'd be dead in a ditch. And I don't even necessarily credit like artists for that. I don't credit like specific bands or songs or things. Like it's myself.
Yeah.
I started writing music at my lowest point in my life. I kept writing it through lower points in my life, rather. And because of it, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my world. I learned so much about, you know, the people that I interacted with, how I reacted to certain situations, and all of that. And this band Monolith has been like Monolith Zero, I should say the whole name in this scenario, has been it's the one reason that I'm alive. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. Like, if I didn't get up to play guitar for 8 hours a day when I was kicked out of school, I would not have gotten myself back into school. I maybe would be working a dead end job. I maybe, like, you know, would be dead. You know, like, I just really, this gave me purpose when I had none. It continues to give me purpose. And as I've gotten older, not only has it served as like, you know, an emotional outlet, but it's also like as a person and as a professional and as someone who is just out here existing, like, it's brought more good fortune and good relationships and good into my life. And I really, like, in many ways, shapes, and forms, I have to thank myself for that. You know, I give a lot of credit to Devin Townsend. I give a lot of credit to Avenged Sevenfold. I give a lot of credit to Metallica and Slipknot and all that stuff. But really, what I did with music was keep myself alive, keep myself a purpose. And, you know, sometimes I question why I give so much to this, or why I care so much about this, or whatever. And I think there's, you know, reasons through one way or another where I go, I probably shouldn't, you know, put this much money towards something, but I do it anyway, because at the end of the day, man, like, life is short. Life is really fucking short. And, you know, to think about, again, like, all the good that's come into my life because I've given and devoted such, like, so much of me to that. Like my favorite singer, like my childhood hero, is in my phone, and he's my friend.
Yeah.
That's because of me. It's not because of, like the connection I made through like a thing or whatever. Like M Shadows is my friend because I was able to speak to Matt like as an artist, as a person, as someone who's like gone through all this stuff. And we have a good relationship, right? That's my childhood hero. Like I said earlier, like I looped chapter 4, like on loop and repeat, like in 2004. Like that was like, to me, that's huge. Like I those, but I brought that into my own life, and to me, like it represents so much of my own willpower and my own drive to do better for myself. Every single time that I sit down and I make something, I might not think about it, or sometimes I maybe take it for granted. But like at the end of the day, the thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to learn about myself. I'm trying to express myself, and I'm trying to put something out into the world that's positive. Like every bit of what I do has a silver lining.
Yeah.
Every single song has some kind of silver lining. I mean, even the saddest of songs. To me, what it has a silver lining. Music also has documented a lot of really, tumultuous times in my life where I can think back, or listen back and remember exactly what I was feeling at a certain point in time, or like a certain lyric hits me in a certain way, or when I listen to the song I'm Blessed, it makes me well up because I remember all of the things that I was going through at that time. And that in and of itself is like shaped in the way that I create music. It's shaped the way that I go after things. Like I said, I like imperfection. I don't like perfection.
Yeah.
Like all like these super perfect radio fucking mixes I could give a fuck about because it doesn't make me feel anything. It makes me just hear the samples. Whereas with this, it's like if I'm putting a song together and I'm like, I need to just feel more. It's not doing the thing like in my brain that I know that I can be doing. I'm going to mix it towards that. Whether that's a good decision or a bad decision, doesn't matter. It's the right decision. And that brings me towards, learning about myself and learning about my emotions and learning about like just who I am as a person, what I've been through, what I am going through, how I'm processing, and all of those things. And yeah, man, it's just the reason why I'm here. It just is. And Ethan, you'd be very surprised to know most of the practice I do on guitar is just ambient music. So whenever you want to make an ambient album, I mean, I've been toying with it for like 7 years.
The God tone. Yeah,
the God tone, literally. But yeah, Matt, that's it, man. It's just what gets me up in the morning, and it's one of the things on Forever. I think this is maybe a good spot to end the podcast. Is one of the lines in Forever is, all we want in life is to be certain that we dream. And music has allowed me to dream. It's afforded me a life that I wouldn't have otherwise. And I continue to want and learn and grow because of it. So
I love that. That's why I do this. It's why I've been in music my entire life. It's important, and I like to connect with people on that level, because music is very important. And like, a million people take a million things out of a million songs, but it's what you connect with on an emotional level, on a personal level, on something that is as deep as I had a really shitty day one day, and I turned on the radio and found my favorite band. Like, anything connects you to something. And that's kind of the family aspect of Face the Music, is that we all have a story to tell, and I want to make sure that everyone gets their opportunity to tell that story. So it has been awesome having you guys on. Ethan, Andre, it is a pleasure meeting both of you. I can't wait to see you guys do your thing at a show. And Nick and Dan, it's an absolute pleasure seeing you guys again. Thank you so much for doing this. I can't even tell you what it means to me to have you be a part of this whole thing. And yeah, I will see you guys at a show, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. Thank you, dude.
Thank you for having us on, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, man.
Anytime. A terrible handshake.
Anytime.
We want to be careful.
Ethan, virtual handshake.
I am also shaking your hand.
Look, the like you were shaking your hand this whole time.
Thank you so much to the boys in Monolith Zero for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to have you, and I look forward to having you guys on again in the future. The door is always open, my friends. I hope you enjoyed learning about this amazing band. Please go follow them. Do not miss the chance to say you saw them when they were playing in small bars. These guys will always have my support. Thank you for your time and your support. Everybody who listens, all of the interactions on social media, who tells their friends to listen, I love you all, and I appreciate you more than words can say. Again, the easiest and the cheapest way for someone to support a friend or family member's business ventures is to just help get the word out. I do it for everybody in my life who starts something up. It takes zero effort or time. Share the page, like and share a post, tell a friend about something I've said or a band that you heard on the podcast. Go get tickets to a show or stream the music that you hear. If you're watching on YouTube, just punch the shit out of that subscribe button. It's going to get more violent every time, guys, I promise. It goes a very long way. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I truly hope to see you again on the next one. You have been listening to the Face the Music podcast. Be well, everybody. Be safe, and I will see you again soon. Peace.